All right, we're back. Judd'z Budz episode 178. Gretzky plus prospect showcase Adam Banach -1 retired for Wild fans. That was one way to do it. That was a three-way trade that the NHL apparently wants to get rid of. Anyways, as always, your host Z, joined by my good buddy Mr. at State of Hoppy. Hoppy, how you doing?
I didn't even follow half of what you just said. I'm still catching up. We're good today. Today is just a lot going on. We had the 36-week check-in or whatever for little guy number 2. And it's really funny because now going through it twice, I can confidently say that whenever you go in and they do the ultrasounds and you can legitimately see the kid's face, with the shit they use. And every time it's literally he's and all I'm getting the vibes of is Step Brothers I don't want my pictures taken right now.
Oh, hell yeah. That rocks.
Very fun.
He's just in there buzzing, dude.
To say the least.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
we got a lot going on today. We got a lot to unpack.
It's gonna be a good one in theory.
Oh, yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Great one in theory. We got plenty of NHL things to talk about now that there's actually NHL things happening. We'll probably do that and ramble on until 9:00 Central, when we'll welcome in a handful of friends that helped us come up with the latest iteration of the Minnesota Wild prospect pool rankings. We condensed it a little bit this year. We did top 20 instead of top 25, and we'll talk through some of the honorable mentions. But tonight, we will have on a collection of people from the Sota Pod, Sota Media Network. We have the band formerly known as Sound the Foghorn, several representatives there, and, of course, the crew that puts together the Minnesota Wild Prospects page on Twitter, X, whatever, and Facebook. And then plenty of Minnesota Wild stuff to unpack after that. But 16 to 20 is what we're hitting on today. Z already joked, and there'll be people that join in after this that don't hear what we're saying that will freak out because we're not talking about certain prospects and they deserve to be on our list. And, well, we're waiting for it. It'll be funny, but we are only talking about the honorable mentions, 21 up through 31. We won't probably spend that much time on them. Who am I kidding? We'll probably end up spending way too much time on them. And then 16 to 20 in the infamous list. But Z, we can talk about any number of things NHL wide. There's 3 in particular that I definitely want to hit on. So let me know, which of those do you want to start with? Or is there something off the radar that we want to get into? Because we got 25 minutes here to kill until our friends jump in.
Yeah, I mean, just because I think it would be fair. The first 2 on the list there would be fairly quick. That the Barkov injury.
The first one we can spend some time on.
Yeah, yes. The Panthers are obviously going to be in one year. I mean, this is now 3 seasons going to the Stanley Cup final. Obviously, back-to-back champs, and now you've got Tkachuk's getting or has had some kind of surgery. He's gonna be out till December. I think I saw.
We knew that was coming. We just didn't know exactly what the time frame was going to be. And of course, you knew that if it was a delayed thing, he was going to make sure he was back in time for the Olympics.
Right. That's true. But the Barkov one is obviously massive. I mean, he legitimately does everything for that team.
But real question before we get into it, is it a bigger blow to the Panthers or to Finland?
I don't know.
My vote's Finland.
Yes. It's yes. I don't know. I mean, he is obviously incredibly important to the Florida Panthers. Legitimately one of the best, two-way centers in this league. One of the most skilled. Obviously puts up tons and tons of points. Also brings home Selke trophies now. But just the fact that it looked bad just because, there was pretty much no contact. And I think everyone, once it was he couldn't put any weight on his leg, and really obviously needed a ton of help getting off the ice. It was like, I would be shocked that's not an ACL. I believe that's what they ended up saying it was. So he's like, what, 6, 7, 8 months? Is that what was that like the final timeline or whatever?
No, I thought it was like it could be as much as 9.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it was like 8 to 9 because usually the ACL, I guess, is like.
But let's be real though. Whenever we hear those come out across all sports now, it always feels like we're just conditioned now to believe that like that is them overshooting the number.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you of all people know this because Boston's famous for it. Like, yeah, they're going to be out for 4 months. Oh, 2.5 months. Here he is.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said 4 days, 4 hours actually. And they're like, boom, they're back. But I mean, it just sucks. Like, listen, I obviously despise the fucking Florida Panthers other than like a handful of guys, but it is obviously just also impossible to fucking dislike Barkov. He fucking rules. Everything he does is sick. He's like just an unbelievably talented player, plays the right way. But I mean, that's obviously just a massive blow to the Panthers, who again, all of these dudes have been playing deep. I mean, they've made 3 Stanley Cup runs in a row, coming off 2 wins. So like, I mean, that being said, they didn't exactly have like the hottest start last year either, and then they had no problem. So we'll see what they look like out of the gates here. But I mean, obviously they're gonna be down. Barkov will be down, Tkachuk, and who knows how the rest shakes out here. But it's obviously just a brutal injury, and it sucks to not have to not be able to watch Alexander Barkov play hockey blows.
Well, and injuries are bad. Even the players that I despise most in this league, I don't wish an injury upon them. Like I might wish like justice on them, like a player beating the shit out of them. That's different than a player just like getting injured in the course of a game. Or in this one, like just the no contact injury is always scary. Now, I said injuries suck, so that's off the table, right? Injuries are bad. Doesn't it kind of feel like Barkov is the only guy that the league holistically is like, man, I'm really bummed that he's out for the Panthers? Or is anyone else they're like, yeah, fuck you guys?
Yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like the combination of them now just being an unbelievably successful hockey team, and the way that they play is like, yeah, that's just like the reaction I was gonna have. Yeah. But yeah, so Barkov is like, he's different. He's also like a fucking physical specimen. So I do have a funny feeling that whenever they throw the 9 months out there for the ACL, wouldn't be shocked if he's one of the guys that cuts that timeline down. But either way, that's a ton of hockey to miss. So
do you feel like some like United Nations official was like just up at the top of the rank and like sniped his ACL and MCL because they're like, your name just sounds too Russian. We can't have you participating in the Olympics.
Gonna leave that one there.
So a couple, I guess, more serious questions though on that one. First, we've already said it, so we don't even have to ask this one, but like the Panthers absolutely can make the playoffs even without Barkov and Tkachuk. It's obviously more of a grind and a battle to get there, but they can do it. Is there a world, even if they like decide they're going to completely shelf him and put him on LTIR and say he's not even playing in the postseason, they get the full 10 million relief? Is there anything they could do to actually win the cup? Or is it a ironclad requirement that they have Barkov to win?
I mean, they still have insane amounts of talent on that roster. I mean, I have no way.
I'm not talking about winning a round or contending. Like, I'm talking winning the whole thing on a three-peat.
I mean, just because we're talking about a three-peat, I'm just saying they still can. Like, they're just still that good. I mean, realistically, he's probably the most important player in that team. But just to keep it alive, I'll say, yeah, of course. Like, they still can. It's fucking the Stanley Cup playoffs. Nothing makes sense.
Cosgrove, to clarify, if they want him to come back for the playoffs, they only get the league average contract as their like benefit on the cap. I think it's like 4 million something. If they shut him down for the year and say he's not coming back for the playoffs, they do get the full 10 million, but he cannot play as soon as they designate him for that. So that's the contingency there. So I figured you'd be less of a believer, but I get it. I'm still going with my follow-up question of if they do go on and win it all through this, and I'm even going to say it's got to be without Barkov for this to truly stand, but if they win a third in a row without Barkov, regardless of what they do, how fast can you build a statue for Bill Zito?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they haven't already got one started. I don't know.
This guy almost,
it's incredible.
This guy should have been the Pittsburgh GM, and it makes me a little sad, but
yeah, he like what he's done. Like we talked about this with well, actually, you know what the difference between Zito and like when Breezewell came in after, like Yzerman built so much of what the Lightning already had there when Breezewell came in and took over. Zito just came in and it was like almost a full overhaul. Like,
yeah.
And it starts obviously, I mean, the big moves were obviously the Tkachuk, bringing him in and moving on from Huberdeau and Rieger and all them. But like,
that's it though, man. It's the way he did it. He went in and made the trade that everyone said, you're a moron. And he just sat back. He's like, okay, we'll see.
We will see.
We will see.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say that, like, and this isn't about Zito. I just, because I was trying to remember, because I remember looking at like the on ice or the metrics for like when Barkov was on the ice at even strength for the Florida Panthers. It's fucking insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like he played, it was like at even strength, he was on the ice with Verhaeghe and Reinhart for 400 minutes. And pretty much every single metric was like goals for right around 60%, the shots 62%. Like it's like the expected goals 63%. Like they were legitimately dominant, and so much of that is just obviously how good he is playmaking. All that they have the puck the whole fucking time. But I mean, so responsible, obviously to his own end with Selkie, all that stuff. But like, what a fucking hockey player!
Now I can say objectively, like he is the best like two-way player in the game. Do we have to though? And I really don't care because NHL awards I think are kind of just dumb in the nature of like how they're voted. But do you almost have to say that he's not eligible for the Selkie because he freaking plays with Sam Reinhart, who's also a perennial Selkie nominee? Like at what point do you say like, well, they're playing together and that's part of it?
I mean, I don't know. He's been like this good at both ends of the ice his whole career.
No, he has.
I don't know.
It's the same way that people said, oh, Crosby can't win the Hart because he plays with Malkin.
Always.
And then somehow it doesn't stop McDavid, but we can move past that. All right, let's move on then. Next piece here. We've got Marc-Andre Fleury just continuing to do his thing. I want him to go on a tour now where like next year he plays in a preseason game for Vegas. The next year he plays in one for Chicago. Then he comes back here and plays in one. But he could just have an endless like media circus and just go out and do whatever he wants. And people will probably never get sick of it just because of the personality.
Yeah. I mean, it's been cool just seeing like him get to be around in preseason again, getting the ovation he deserves and stuff. But, I mean, it was weird to see him back in the Pittsburgh jersey again.
It's super weird.
But I mean, I'm sure for you it was real nice though.
No, it's still weird.
Yeah,
like I've
for him, dude. He deserves
the history.
Pun intended. He deserves all the flowers he's getting now. So
no, he deserves most of them. We've talked about this before. I love Marc-Andre Fleury. I love him. Always have. I still think that the collective hockey fan base chooses to forget the negatives of Marc-Andre Fleury's career just because of who he is, like the personality, like him being the prankster, the biggest, like most winning smile out there. Like everyone just loves him. So they just like tuck away a pretty dark stretch of playing in Pittsburgh because he had wins. Still love him. I still love him. I just like, there were times where I was very, very frustrated with him.
Yeah, that's part of the Penguins fandom.
And no one remembers.
Yeah, we choose to not remember.
Kozarov nailed it. Yes, I love him. I'm just not in love with him. That's not true. Honestly, if he walked up to me and said hi, I would probably melt. But
you're the best goalie ever. The best hockey player of all time.
Fastest kid alive.
Fastest kid alive.
But yeah, just very cool to see him out there doing the thing, and that fun to see him doing it. It really is the end of that era where we all assume that this is Malkin's last season, and there's been speculation that maybe he even gets traded this year. Letang at the back end. Crosby, he could probably play another 6 years if he chooses, as long as no one touches his head, but we'll wait and see where that all lands and whether he stays or goes, because I know that's going to be everyone's favorite topic this year, especially once the Kaprizov and McDavid sagas get locked down. But anyways, kudos to Fleury. I just hope that this doesn't like lure him over there to like chill out in Pittsburgh rather than come back and be here with the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess for us, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, no.
But, all right. The last one that I had that we need to talk about, just because we spent a lot of time on it before, Mason McTavish. And I'm going to really simplify this one, Z. He ends up signing a 6x7, 6-year, $7 million a year contract. It took that long to get there?
That's what I was going to say. I don't know
what
why.
the fuck is Verbeek doing? This is the easiest contract offer ever. And you have Friedman saying like, basically like, yeah, you knew as soon as it hit 7 million that McTavish was going to say yes. Like, how did it take you that long to get to 7 million?
Literally. Yeah, that was my first reaction. Like, it took us until September. Was it yesterday, 28th that we got this done?
I believe.
Or how many days it was?
So
I can't even remember. Whatever.
Doesn't matter. September 20 anything to get to that contract when they've been working on it all summer is batshit to me.
Well, what's crazy too is like literally we were doing this 7 days ago, and I'm pretty sure that's when we read that tweet. It was like they're not even in the same ballpark, and I was like, wait, what are we even talking about right now? Like, are you on the same ballpark? And then they end up with a $7 million long-term deal. Like, that's crazy to me. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of the player. I'm a big fan of this contract for the Ducks, especially with the cap going up. How like we just look at his point per game totals, his last 3 seasons going up and up. I think it's a no-brainer. He is going to be a very, very good player in this league. Plays like the ideal center style that you want. Like he's a big boy, plays hard, moves pretty well, could score, has a ton of skill. He's just a beast. So love this. I think it's going to age very, very well. Obviously, I think it's a solid contract right now. Fuck, like
it could be very much the next Matt Boldy contract.
Yeah, like yeah. Right.
I was gonna say it's all the better too if you're a Ducks fan, because I'm not comparing it on the full scale by any means. I don't want people to like take this and run with it, but like you almost have the Crosby Malkin dynamic there, where you have 2 guys that are like poised to potentially be bona fide number 1 centers, and you're going to be able to roll them 1-2.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun. And I wonder, it doesn't make sense to me, but the only way I can wrap my head around the weirdness of what Verbeek was doing here in these negotiations, they got a lot of pups that are all like in the next year or 2 coming up on contracts. Is he just like weirdly trying to flex and show them like, yeah, if I'm going to be a dickhead and mess around with Mason McTavish, you better show up and be ready to take a deal. I'm not giving in, even though this is just very confusing to me that this was the struggle to reach. Like this should have been such an easy no-brainer contract for both sides. And I don't know why the Ducks were holding out for a lower term. Like they wanted the longer term. Their biggest thing was they said, we are not doing a bridge. No way. So what were they offering him? A 6-year, $5 million deal? Like what do you, he's taller than Marco Rossi and you don't hate him like Bill Guerin hates Rossi. So how did we do this? And yeah, I mean, the Rossi contract looks sick until that's used to be why he's traded so easily.
Yeah. But yeah, we have 3 years to worry about that anyways. We don't have to do that yet.
But he'll be traded this year.
Yeah. I mean, again,
Kaprizov leaves.
Yeah, great. We're gonna keep stressing ourselves out. Love it.
We'll get one of them.
Yeah, sure, will be fun. Yeah, again, long story short, though, like, very weird that it took this long to get this contract done. That being said, if you're a Duck fan, like, all right, fine, perfect, done, great contract, phenomenal player, like, time to just get going here and see what he can do this season. Again, I expect a pretty good year from him. I think it was 50-something points maybe last year in 70 games. So I think he's gonna be poised for a huge year, obviously. And you just look at some of the young guys that are coming up to, like, to have a young established center in your roster that is looking to be like a really, elite NHL player yet, but on the track to just being one of the better centers in the league. And then you don't have to worry about as many of the young prospects coming in and making a difference right away. Like, they just have a really, really solid group of young players. It's see who ends up like making it in Anaheim, because they have so many at this point. We'll see what they do, but
yeah, and it's gonna be interesting to see. Like, we've seen the power dynamic before, where you bring in a guy like Coach Quenneville. He's gonna have a lot of freaking say in what happens, and the players that get along and fit into the way he likes to coach and how he runs shit, they're going to be the ones that get propelled up, and the other ones watch for him to be waived, traded, sent down, or just shot down the depth chart. Like, I feel like he's going to come in and he's going to put a stamp on early, especially, I don't know. I feel like for this market and for the history of a team like this, that's kind of just been a skid mark for a little bit, he's going to come in and he's going to try and big dog people. No?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I feel like pretty much, yeah, I mean, obviously they're going to, with Q, there's going to have to be some level of buy-in. That being said, when he comes in, I don't think it's going to be super hard for him to get a whole lot of that. Anyways, plus you look at some of the guys that they brought in, like a Chris Kreider. Say what you want about like just the level that he played at last year. That being said, like, that's a really solid pro for a lot of those young kids to be around too. So that'll be a nice piece for a coach like Quenneville to have to mentor the young guys. But it is just crazy looking at like all of the different prospects that they've drafted over the last few years. I think I've talked about this with Anaheim, but like when we first started doing this show, we were really hammering away on the prospects. Like the Wild 3 years ago, once Judd Brack came in, they really started acquiring a very diverse pool of prospects where you had like tons of skill. You had guys that were scorers. You had really solid two-way players. And you look at the back end, they had a little bit of everything there. It's like that's kind of what Anaheim's got going on right now. Obviously, as we've seen in Minnesota, eventually, like thin the herd after a while, but that's like the luxury of having such a big, solid prospect pool is like now these guys still have time to develop and kind of see who can crack the NHL. But they really have an unbelievably solid group of young players coming in that should be able to right the ship at least somewhat near term, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I just thought about, like you talked about Kreider. There's obviously the Trouba piece too. This is the last year of his contract. The embrace chaos side of my brain can't remove the idea of him going and signing with the Islanders in the offseason.
There you go.
Wants to get back to New York. Big middle finger to the Rangers and keep your head up, everybody.
Just as a monster.
No,
just as a monster season.
Dude, he has to go to Buffalo. He has to. Think about all the endorsement deals for the chicken wing.
Oh, there you go. That would be, that's good. We like that.
Come on.
He's just going to come in this year. Also, the fact that he plays the same hockey team as Radko Gudas is very funny to me. Like, just the two of them running around murdering people is incredible. But like contract year, he's gonna score like fucking 22 goals, 300 penalty minutes, million hits. Like, he's just gonna be a psycho the whole year.
Not gonna score the goals. Those are all for Lacombe. But
yeah, true. John, what a player! It's just another one for them, and just another solid young defenseman for a prospect. I mean, he's not a prospect anymore, obviously, but like when you just look at how many young defensemen they have ready to like play now, but like he gives you a little bit of everything. We scored 14 last year. And somehow on that Anaheim Ducks team, he like his metrics were like the fact that he had, I think he was a plus minus, but like his like 5v5 metrics with him on the ice are incredible for such a young defenseman on a struggling team. But again, I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Like the Ducks' second half of the year, like were pretty good. Like that's the other thing too. I mean, they started banking. They started banking wins. I don't know. I mean, you're banking wins at the end of the year, like whatever it is, what it is. But same time, like they just played over 500 hockey from like January on. So
no, it's positive and it's good for like it's good for the team mentality, right? But there are a lot of people who like take that at face value and say like, oh, second half of the year they were trending to be a playoff team if they did that all season. It's like, yeah, it's like very different hockey because every team you're playing against, like a third are coasting because they know they're in, a third know they're out and don't give a shit, and then there's a third that are real games because they're in the same mix as you. But like, it's not the same hockey necessarily, but it's good because they've got a bunch of kids that don't know what winning is. So at least they got a little taste of it. For them, the success is all going to hinge on whether or not Dostal is who they believe he is. And I mean, all the signs are there, but again, goalies are voodoo. I'll say it every episode. If he can be that guy, they'll be frisky. Mm-hmm. But if not, it all crumbles. So
yeah, I still look. Yeah, I mean, like again, like I just look at the team that they have right now coming to the year versus what they had coming to the year last year. It's like still, I think it's better on paper than they were. Plus another year experience for guys like Lacombe, McTavish, Carlson. So I mean, they're trending the right direction. If you're an Anaheim fan, you would have wanted to have been a little bit faster than this, but like they're closer to where they want to be than they were a year ago. So again, trending the right direction, more positives than negatives. But I mean, still going to be a challenging year, obviously, especially with like a group of like a couple veterans and then a lot of young players. But again, I think the Dostal piece is huge. A guy like Lacombe's huge. McTavish, Carlson. I mean, even someone like Frankie Machado putting up like 30 goals. You're like, all right, like that's another vet at this. I mean, he's been in the league for a while now, so I guess he's a vet. And he can play. Troy Terry's still there, like obviously. So
I love Troy Terry, but I opposite of love their main offseason acquisition. We've talked about this plenty.
Mm-hmm. I know.
I don't like him for that money when like they could have done different things. I don't know.
Yeah. I think for them to like, I remember I was listening to my buddy Cam Robinson and Chris Peters talk about, like they were talking about like guys who was like, they posed for a breakout year, a bit of a sophomore slump. The one question I'm going to have, because I mean, I think he played a lot with Mason McTavish. Cutter Gauthier, how can he take another step forward? I think he scored 20 last year, obviously pretty solid. I mean, again, just the situation might dictate how much of a step forward he can take, but if he can like add a couple more goals, get a couple more points, that's obviously another young player that's got a lot going for him, trending in the right direction. So that'd be another piece too, obviously moving forward for the future. So we'll see what he can do with McTavish. I think the line that they played the most on was McTavish, Gauthier, and I think it was Fabry, which obviously that's not happening, but we'll see.
I've always liked Fabry though. I would love to see what his
fucking poor kid.
Right. No, I would love to see what he could have done with just a clean bill of health throughout. That would have been very fun. But
yeah,
no, the Ducks, there's a lot to be optimistic about if you're a fan. And the guy you mentioned there, Cutter Gauthier, regardless of what anyone thinks about the whole situation with him leaving Philadelphia, what he did in the Frozen Four, like whatever, I will forever be a Cutter Gauthier supporter for two reasons. One, he literally got drafted by the Flyers, and in his interview immediately after being drafted, went on to say that his idol is Sidney Crosby. Fucking rocks. He is also the reason that we have Zeev Buium. So Minnesota Wild fans should support him forever.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
It's that simple.
We keep it simple here. We keep it, I mean, sometimes too simple.
We do oversimplify many, many things. All right. With that, we are just past the 9 o'clock mark. And I know we've had a couple of casualties who said they were going to join us next week, but we do have one esteemed member of the ranking committee joining us here. Let me just jump in and do my best interpretation of changing our graphics up. This is going to be ugly, so just shut up and deal with it, people. We're going to go there, and we're going to throw Brett in. Boom.
Hey.
Welcome, Brett Marshall. We're here, and we are ready to talk prospects. And I don't know, Brett, give me your opinion. Maybe you liked it before. People don't know, but behind the curtains, the way we used to handle the prospect rankings, we would throw all of the prospect rankings into a spreadsheet, and then we get a group of 6 of us together on one night and literally spend 3.5 hours recording the entire rankings and then release it over a couple of weeks. And in the summer, that works, but we're breaking it up. We're doing 5 per week and letting people join as they wish. I'm thrilled to go that route rather than what we've done traditionally.
Yeah, I think part of it is, between the show we used to have, and then obviously the really awesome network that you guys have built now, where we can now have graphics live on screen, where we have so many people that want to tune in live. I think it's really cool that, we've been able to transition to this, where we have enough people, enough content, and all that to be able to jump on and do it chunks at a time. So I'm pretty excited. I think that, it was always a really fun show. Like you said, really would grind it out. But I think this is a great way to kind of head into the season. It's easy to be excited about what's happening in Minnesota, but I think it's a good way to kick off what we're excited about as far as the prospects go as well, and what we can look forward to in Iowa, juniors, NCAA, all that stuff as well.
Nice. Z, we'll let you kick it off. This is your show, but we got a bunch of names just kind of thrown across the screen here for the ones that did not make our top 20 list. Anyone in particular that you want to come in here and defend or vouch for, that you're like, I feel like this is a name that should be in the top 20?
Yeah, and I think for me, the biggest deviation between like someone I had in the top 20 and then ends up in our like cumulative honorable mention here is the Fleury Amendoski drafted this year. Especially just for what he did second half of his OHL season, how he looked at the few games of playoff experience he had. But I just love the way that he plays, hair on fire, like nonstop, high motor, and he's got sneaky skill. He can score goals, he can make plays, super physical, plays a really solid 2-way game. I just think his game's going to translate really well to the NHL when he finally makes it. Again, long-term, like kind of a project prospect here, but like you just love a lot of the foundational tools, the skills that he has. And I just think the way that he approaches the game, I think it translates well to the NHL down the line. So I think I ended up putting him 16th.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there was 16th. Obviously ends up outside of our top 20, but I'm a big Fleury Amendoski fan. I said this right after the draft. I went back and just watched a ton of his shifts from last year, and he plays a very fun brand of hockey, very likable. Going to be, if he makes it to the Minnesota, I think he's going to be a fan favorite for sure.
Yeah, I'm a little bummed that we couldn't have Zeke jump on, because I think I have the spreadsheet up in front of me. If you take out his ranking, I think he would be inside the top 20. So it's a pretty big outlier. I think he had him like 30 out of 31. Justin and I both had him up at 14. Mateo had him at 18. You're at 21. Spokesy at 16. So I think I'd be interested. Maybe when Zeke jumps on next week, you can ask him. Just it could just be he's a newer prospect, doesn't know enough about him. Totally.
Hey,
fair.
you piece of shit! Why do you fucking hate this kid?
And everyone's going to rank these differently, right? Like,
for sure.
Are you talking about how good they are today? Are you talking about like, oh, here's what I see as their trajectory? And like, admittedly for me, I have a bunch of different tiers where there's guys that I could absolutely move up or down like 3 or 4 spots.
Yeah.
He was a guy that I don't have enough track record on. Like, I didn't watch him all year. Like Z said, he had a good end of the season in playoffs. He's kind of my wait and see guy, where it's like, he could be a big mover this year, but I wasn't ready based on like, I just am more familiar with some of the other guys, and I like them for specific reasons. That's why he ended up being 21 for me. But like, having him, 15 to 20 wouldn't have bothered me at all. I'm like just outside of it. I just personally don't have enough there. And I should have led with this, but anyone that's new either to the show or hasn't paid attention to our prospect rankings before, this is a list of 31 players that fit the bill of being under the age of 23 today and being eligible for the Calder Trophy. And I don't think do we have anyone that like crosses those lines where they're not Calder or they're not Calder eligible, but they are under 23. We've had it in the past, but I don't think we have anyone this year, do we? Or am I blanking?
No, I think that's right.
Yeah, because I don't even know who the oldest ones would be. It's probably like the pure Milne class, and they're like what 21.
Yeah, I changed the sheet this year, and I put all of the like draft years on there, so we at least have an idea. But
it's right in front of my face.
Yeah,
yeah, 2020.
It's tough.
2021 is the oldest that we have, so that's Lambos, Spankier, Pure Masters, that class, and they're
And for me, looking at this list, like there's no one that I'm like shocked or bothered by. The two that I wasn't sure where the consensus was going to come in were Kyle Masters and Ryan Healy. And I feel like Healy is just kind of being omitted and forgotten because everyone assumes he's just going to go UFA when he's done with college, right?
Good chance.
Yeah. And then Masters, there's been the injuries and stuff, but I know like that's the one that you have just swooned about since the beginning of this show, Z. Do you think this is a guy that still has a chance to be an NHL player, or is he more likely destined to be a bubble at best?
Yeah, I mean, I think he still projects as like a bubble bottom pair type player. Again, is it going to be in Minnesota? Not even like when you just look at the amount of players that are already here, looking like they could potentially be ready to play now, and then the guys that are coming in that have like probably more upside, probably a long shot to be in Minnesota, but. I just still look at how good he is in transition, how hard he plays, again, how well he moves, and just what he can do with and without the puck. I think he's a smart player. Plays another kid that plays a really fun style of hockey, but again, like spent majority of his last year to the ECHL. And I mean, we talked about this when he first got drafted. It was like, this is a kid that's like a 5-6 year path before like he even sniffs like NHL hockey anyways. And that's like without a whole lot of interruptions if development goes the right way. And obviously like 2 years ago has a pretty bad injury, misses a good chunk of time. But yeah, I mean, he's just given the amount of players that they have here now ready to play. Bring in another guy like Hierchek, who knows what other moves they're going to make. He's like lower on the pecking order, but I still love the way that he plays. I thought he looked really good at the showcase again in a few of those games. But yeah, I mean, again, I think he just projects the bottom six, maybe even a bubble guy. But whether or not it's going to be Minnesota, it's a whole other question. But I just love the kid.
Yeah, and again, I got no one else. I don't see anyone on here that I even flinch at. Brett, do you have anyone that you like look at and you're like pissed or just surprised landed here, or are we good and we're rolling into the 16 to 20?
Yeah, I mean, like nothing like issue ranking wise. I think it is disheartening to kind of see the fall of Jack Peart a little bit. He was a player, I think, that for a while, I think at one point, I think he might have been inside our top 10. There was a lot of optimism even in like the scouting spaces that he would have a chance to crack a top 6 NHL lineup. And it feels like, as the case with, a good chunk of Wild prospects has like kind of hit that like solid AHLer stage and just hasn't been able to take that next step. I think we've seen some of that we've seen some players, I think, kind of take that next step through training camp this year, but Peart was a guy I was really excited about. I think there was a lot to like there with his skating, with his kind of two-way play. We saw some really good seasons at St. Cloud. I believe he played for the World Junior team for a year or two. So I was a little bit like bummed to see that, but that's the way it goes, and you can't hit on every prospect. But he's kind of one I was just bummed to kind of see fall, and maybe that may not hit the NHL at any point.
Yeah, early 2023, he was ranked number 10 for our list, and you were the highest on him.
Yeah. Don't believe everything I say, I guess.
I'm starting. Oh, dude, I'm getting random fucking like, I'll tweet about something else and someone will just bring up like, oh, remember when you fucking loved Kyle Max? Like, oh my God. When they decided not to fucking give O'Rourke a contract, I had like 3 different people be like, you fucking idiot. And I was like, I don't know if I hate you or love the fact that this has been like on your mind for
that
like,
you care this much about me
for 4 or 5 years.
Someone had it saved in their drafts.
It's like, I'm gonna get this piece of shit. I'm like, oh damn it. Like,
Tell you what though, if there was a way for you to know whether or not a post was scheduled and you saw that someone scheduled that post, like bravo.
Again, I'm like,
good for you, dude. Good for you that
rocks.
you called your shot.
Yeah. That's good.
All right. Well, let's transition then. We'll get into again the group. There are 8 of us that contributed, which in the past it's just been 6, but we got Brett, Zeke, and Baki, the band formerly known as Sound the Foghorn, and Baki as well contributing to the Minnesota Wild prospects page. His partner in crime, Pavel, jumped in this year. Producer Mateo jumped in for the first time too. And if we dislike any of his rankings for these guys, maybe we'll abuse him and make him jump in and defend himself. And then Isha, myself, Z, rounding it out. So we took everyone's rankings, averaged them out across all of us, came up with our top 20. Let's jump in and
I'm assuming Isha made this graphic given that Stevie Lescavara is bold front and center.
No, I made it because I was hoping he'd be here and it would just grab his attention and he would run and foam at the mouth.
I mean,
and it looks weird because if everyone had shown up, the other faces would have popped in where you see empty space.
Yeah.
So I overly planned ahead because I didn't expect 3 people to message like last minute and be like, yeah, next week. Okay, sounds good. But all right, so let's jump into it. The first guy in our top 20 list, ringing in at number 20. All right, back to producing. Here we go. We got Jimmy Clark. And for all of these, we're going to expose everyone's rankings. Shit, this might be one that we have to pull Mateo in to talk a little bit. I thought I was going to be the high guy on Jimmy, and here we have Mateo at 13. Lowest ranking, we actually had 4 people ranking him at 23. Brett, yourself included. And again, that's just outside of 20. It's not like you're shitting on the guy, but do you think that this is a guy that warrants being top 20?
Yeah, I have no issue with that. I think you kind of, as we were talking a little bit about Amidovsky, like you have kind of that tier where you see a lot of guys the same. I think Jimmy Clark's kind of in that tier. Like I think for me, like from 17 probably to, I would say 20. Let's see, where's my 23, 24. I would say like he's like in my tier of like 17 to 23. I could probably put in any order. So I have no issue with him. I think, especially you look at where he was taken in the draft and what he looks at, the fact that he even has potential, I think is really exciting and looks like it could be, even if he turned into a good AHL, or was he a 6th or 7th round pick, I believe, right?
7th.
Yeah. Like I think, if you can even turn a 7th round pick into a good AHLer, I still think that's a good pick, all things considered. So.
Yeah, we had him on the show on Fellowship of the Rink, and he flat out said like, oh yeah, I did not think or expect that being drafted was a thing. So I was actually out just skating and like hanging out with the boys, and all of a sudden someone texted me. I was like, hey, you got drafted, right? He's like, oh, okay, cool.
To the war? What war? When did we start doing that again?
Z, I'm curious from you because you've generally been higher on Jimmy Clark than me when we just talk about him. Are you just like that excited about some of the other guys, or is there any reason that you've got like hesitation with Jimmy?
No, I mean, I think just given some of the players they drafted the last couple of years too, was he last year, 2 years ago? But some of them, like the more recent draft picks. But you just look at like the overall profile. He's like average size center. He's a decent, not great skater, but really hard worker, solid. He's a hardworking defensive center. He's really fun to watch, like off the cycle against the rush. Plays really well under pressure. Makes really good passes. Like really fucking good passer of the puck. So like again, I put 20. I think in this where they're with the Wild, with where they're at with the prospects now, you could like put for me like 10 to 20. almost in any order, and I'm like, yeah, probably, I don't know. But like, we just like look at the physical profile. A lot of that, like, it kind of stacks up against him. That being said, he works super hard. He's a really smart fucking player, really solid defender. And again, just watching him play off the rush and off the cycle, how well he passes the puck, his ability to kind of like play with a handful of line mates, play any position. We saw him at the beginning of the year last year, where like he was playing on that top, we called it the what was it? They like on the roster or they tweet out the lines like the third, fourth line, or whatever. But like he was playing with what like Matthew would. And I mean, he was putting up over a point per game at that point. Then all the injuries happened. Guys went to World Juniors and obviously like really mixed up the lines, and that's where the production started falling off. That being said, like when you watch the Gophers play, like he was noticeable almost every shift. And he can kind of like give you a little bit of everything. But I think, you know, just looking at like the physical profile and the type of player he is, again, like just the way the NHL is going, like what exactly does he look like in an NHL lineup? Like where does he slot in? Still a bit of a question mark, but I just still think he ends up making it somewhere into the NHL. Just given how hard he works, how smart he is, some of the tools that he does have going for him. But yeah, no, it's a tough projection to like really get an idea of exactly where he slots in the NHL lineup. But I just have a funny feeling that he does end up doing it.
But you hit it to a T, man. Like if you asked me at the beginning of last season if I'd have Jimmy Clark in my top 20 for prospects this year, especially if you told me like who he drafted, whatever, I never would have thought that. It's the versatility piece. Like we always knew that he was a super versatile player, but we hadn't seen him play with the guys that he did this year to start the season, right? He fit in so perfectly, and he's such a good complementary player. He just thinks the game the right way. He's adaptable. I'm not going to compare like the skill necessarily, but he's a guy that gives me all of the like Ryan Hartman and Brian Rust vibes, where he's never going to really have a defined role, but you can put him on your first, second, third, fourth line in any given game, and you're going to be comfortable doing it. And a different comp, I guess, like a Kyle Rao kind of guy, where he can be a perennial AHL stud and like be a guy you're comfortable calling up in a pinch if someone gets hurt or you need a filler. I just see so many paths for him that's why I have to have him ranked the way I do. Now, this season's going to tell a lot because he's going to be playing with different guys and he's going to have a different load to carry. That could thrust him up the list more, or maybe I pump the brakes a little bit and I don't think that he's got the same trajectory, but I just having that many paths in is why I can't overlook just how he compares to some of the other guys that have a lot more question marks, I guess.
Yeah, and I think if you look at kind of like, I mean, this hasn't been just a specific like Guerin regime thing too. The Wild historically have loved the type of players who are kind of that Swiss Army knife that can play kind of anywhere in the lineup. Like if they ask you to do something and you can do it, they want to get you into the lineup. And I think to your point, like he has some of those attributes where he can, you know, kind of do multiple things, which if you're able to do that, you're not kind of a one-trick pony. It does, I think, improve your chances of finding your way into NHL lineup if you can fill a role that a team is missing.
Now, since Guerin was brought up, we do have to point out he's not 6'4", so he probably has no chance, but aside from that. All right. That is number 20, kicking off the list, Jimmy Clark of your Minnesota Gophers. Let's pump over then to number 19. Aaron Pionk, and somewhere Justin Bakke is doing cartwheels that a Bulldog got in just ahead of a Gopher. The highest rank on this, again, Mateo. Mateo loves our Minnesota college guys. He had him at 14. Pavel for Minnesota Wild prospects at 17. Most of us hovering right around 20. Z actually the lowest. Technically, Z, why do you hate Aaron Pionk?
Just that guy, you know.
He wants to be his brother, and he's not.
Oh my God, that's so I mean, I'll just jump in here real quick. For me, like with Aaron Pionk, really, obviously, like you look at another hike in production last season with Duluth, and I mean, like Duluth's in a weird spot where they lost a bunch of guys, and I mean they are playing a lot of really good teams, but like, I don't know, he played well pretty much every game. But like, you look at the jump up in production again. I think it was like 25, 26 points in 30 something games last year.
26 and 36, yeah.
26 and 36. You look at it, like a lot of the points came from like quick transitions and like just moving the puck up to some of those skilled forwards, a lot of off the rush, a lot of power play points. So maybe the offense wasn't necessarily dynamic, but I mean, he made it work. Again, he's a decent enough mover. And he's got good skill when there's not a whole lot of pressure on him. Like, don't worry about the play at his own end. That being said, he's been a defenseman for like 10 minutes. Like, we forget, like, he got drafted as an overager and he switched to like from forward to D, like after his first draft eligible season, which is nuts. So I think there's a lot to like. Obviously, again, like, he played really well last season. But I just struggled to see like where it ends up translating all the way into the NHL. Because it's not gonna be like the defending that really like pushes him over. But that being said, again, like, what he's doing against really solid competition after just being a defenseman for like 2 years, impressive. So definitely has a chance, but I just struggle to see like where exactly, like, what kind of NHL defenseman is it going to be? I don't really know.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at too. I think I had him right at 20, so like a lot of us did. Yeah, I think, you like to see the offensive production, to Z's point, in a tough division like, or conference, they're going to call it the NCHC. But I think my concerns would be just kind of, is there a lot of runway left to reach his ceiling at already 22 years old? So drafted as an overager, but again, I think, another guy that was taken pretty late in the draft, where if he turns out to be a solid AHL player, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, this Iowa team needs as much help as it can get to start getting these higher end prospects in winning environments. I'm excited to see what Greg Cronin can do, when some of these, these young guys continue to come in, to see if they can mix that blend of veteran, youth, and build quality teams. And to have a good AHL team, you still need to have good AHL players. That's still really important to professional development and getting players to the NHL. Because I think that's been a big problem. I think a lot of the current higher end prospects is these Iowa teams have been so bad. I think in a way it can stunt their growth a little bit, because you're playing so much defense, you don't get a chance to build as much of those offensive skills. So even to me, like, if he projects out as a top 4 AHL defenseman, I think it's a solid pick, and hoping that he can be more than that. But pleasantly surprised with, again, what we've seen so far from a later round draft pick.
It kills me that as I typed out the font for this graphic, I thought the exact same thing that Cosgrove wrote here. Ron. God damn it, he's broken me. For me, I'm going to keep it simple, and I kind of alluded to this with Jimmy Clark, but I have a bucket that I'm just officially going to brand moving forward as my Charlie Stramo bucket. Last year, I think I was like the highest on Stramo, and I put him at like 13 in the list. And I was like, this year is going to tell me whether he drops to the 20s or he gets up into the top 10. Pionk, Clark, and there's like a group of maybe like 5 or 6 total in my top 20 that I'm like, this is the year that I want you to show me whether you bump up or you're just out of my mind entirely. And Pionk, like, he's played on a not super exciting or inspiring team. I want to see what he can do this year when the team's going to have a little bit more expectations, and I want to see him take a step and carry a little bit more of the load. I'm either going to bump him up mid-low teens, or he's going to kind of be an afterthought for me. Well, that's number 19, Aaron Pionk of the UMD Bulldogs. Next up, let's see, math. Number 18. Here we go. The Flying Tomato, Mikey Milne. Let's see, across the group, Isha, the highest, not here to discuss it, 14. Mateo, the lowest at 24. Everyone else kind of falls in the range of 15 to 19. I don't know, who wants to start? What are our thoughts on Mikey Milne?
Yeah, I think, in a lot of ways where Jimmy Clark can be a little bit of that utility knife, that whatever, the thing, whatever. He can be kind of wear a lot of hats, and I think we saw it a little bit. He got a very brief taste of the NHL last year, and just because he's a hard worker. Like, I don't think this is going to be a guy that's going to come into the ever play for the Wild and score a boatload of points or play up in your lineup. But I think, if you have, he's going to probably be more of that career tweener. But if you need an energy guy that can come up in a pinch, give you some solid games without, trying to be too fancy or, make stupid mistakes. I think he's a pretty smart player. Works really hard, got a good motor. But I think the fact to me that he's already played NHL games, I had to kind of just bump him up in my rankings because he's already proven he can get there, where some of the guys ranked below him, there's still questions if they can get there. But to me, I don't really see much more of a ceiling. I think he's maybe more or less reached it. But again, I think a guy that whether he's playing, filling in for injuries in the NHL level or being a really important player, probably in your top 6, top 9 Iowa, I think that's a valuable piece to have in your organization.
Yeah, and I'm bottom half of the group, but I still threaded the needle and hit 18. We should get bonus points for actually ranking the guy where their consensus comes in. But like you said, Brett, it's a big thing about he gives a lot of shits, right? Like, he is a worker, and he's a guy that I look at and say, like, this is a future AHL captain who there's an injury late in the year and he gets called up and plays in your bottom 6 and he ends up being an impact guy throughout the playoffs. I don't think that I won't say that he won't, but I'm not necessarily convinced that he ever carves out a full-time NHL spot, but he's certainly not lacking the ability to do so. Like, he could get there, but I think he's a guy that you want to have in your organization because he serves an important role down in Iowa where we've seen it the last couple of years. Like, shit's been bad. And I think he could be a long-term culture guy for that if he is willing to stick around rather than go look elsewhere and try and push his way in for a lesser team.
Yeah, I actually it's funny you say that because I do think he's pretty close to actually being able to, again, probably not in Minnesota just given the players that we have here already, but I think he's pretty close to being an NHL guy as is.
I should have caveated with our team.
Yeah, because he's somewhat different player, but as far as how you kind of look at them in your lineup, he's similar to a doer type where it's just listen, he's gonna put up tons and tons of points. No, he's not going to, but fourth line, really solid two-way play. He's got sneaky skill. Actually, it's not that sneaky. He ripped apart the WHL on that fucking Winnipeg team that was filthy. But can do a little bit of everything. We talked about Swiss Army knife type players. That's Mikey Milne. That's why he got a couple games last year. So he's got a few games under his belt already. He can kind of give you a little bit of everything, but does he have that one trait that's going to put him into your middle top 6? No, but he plays just really smart hockey, moves well. He's a prick to play against too. Great culture guy, like you said. But I think he's pretty close to just being in your bottom 6 across the league. It just might not be in Minnesota. But he's another guy I would imagine gets a few games here this season too. He already got some last year, but I love the player. Really good guy to have in your organization. Gives you a little bit of everything. But I think he is pretty close to just being, if he were to be in a situation where there's an opening up in your fourth line, he probably is able to play right now.
Yeah, I think in previous renditions of this ranking, I think I compared him once to Connor Dewar. I think I still kind of stand by that a little
Mateo
bit.
In the private chat said he's Mason Shaw, injuries included.
Yeah, a Shaw, Dewar, just that gritty kind of heart and soul guy that fills in on your fourth line that you're not upset that you have to put him in there, but he's probably not going to do anything remarkable.
Yeah, he played a lot with Hunter Haight in Iowa last year. They were fucking awesome together. Again, those two were two of the very. They may have been two. They were maybe peas and 5 carrots. Or 6 guys that were pretty much there all year that played solid throughout the whole season. Other than that, it was essentially a complete fucking shit show, start to finish down there. But he was one guy that he looked like he was up for it pretty much every game he played in Iowa last season. So again, I just you just love everything he brings. He just does have that one standout thing that's going to elevate him in your lineup. But as far as a guy that you can throw in, you'll never be worried about having him on the ice. Yeah,
great dude too. And anyone that missed it, anyone listening on YouTube, go check out the full interview we did on Fellowship of the Rink. Awesome guy. Z, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you remember what we were laughing about right after that interview?
Was he the best dressed guy? I can't
He
remember if
was
that's what
the
we were laughing
runner
about.
up to Damon Hunt, so we asked him about that
Right.
too. But no, when we ask everybody on Fellowship of the Rink like what their nerd itch is, like something that they're into. He had one of the like funnier but also like weirder answers. He said he's really into coloring. He loves coloring.
Did he
Dude, coloring is great.
I know, but it was so unexpected and off the wall.
Yeah.
Like, do you have TV shows? Do you have any like nerdy book series? Like, do you collect something? He's like, I like to draw. Like, what?
Fuck yeah! What an awesome story. Held it up to,
And then it like ended with him saying he's gonna like draw some logos and stuff. We haven't followed back up on it. I'll have to have Joe ask him when he goes down to Iowa this year. But it wasn't. It's not even that it's like a bad answer. It's a good answer. It's just like unexpected and very off the path of the answers that we typically get. I was like caught off guard. I'm like, I have so many follow-up questions. What are we drawing? Are you a crayon or colored pencil guy? Like, what are we into?
Super bad situation.
No.
Big zany bad.
You hit Becca with your dick? Yeah, man. All right. I think that is the perfect place to end on number 18 in our top 20 rankings. Mikey Milne. All right. Now we're going to move on to number 17 in the Minnesota Wild prospect pool rankings. Michael Russo's favorite adopted son, David Spacek, coming in at number 17. The highest rating, 14. The lowest, 21. How do we feel about the man they call David Spacek?
He was probably, for me, one of the hardest players to rank because he's one of those players that, like, he looks good in Iowa. He looks great at, or looks good at times in Iowa, has looked great at international tournaments, including against pros. But it just seems like there's this next level that, like, I feel like I'm waiting for him to get to, and it doesn't happen. I think he had a pretty solid training camp, but it seems like the Wild of, I think there might have, there was a report, I think, toward the end of last year, I think maybe even Yaroslav Spacek came out and basically said like he has no future with the Wild and basically wants him to get traded, which is unfortunate. But I mean, hard to blame him when you look in front of the players that are in front of him. Like, yeah, there probably isn't a path for him. I think in a similar vein to kind of Damon Hunt, like you probably should be in the NHL at some point, but it's probably not going to be here. So I think for like that specific reason is why, I think when I was ranking him around some of these other guys I have in this range, that's why I think I had him a hair lower. Is I don't think he plays games with the Wild, the Minnesota Wild ever. But like he just like it's just such a confusing. Like it seems like he should be an NHL player, but there's just something missing where he can't quite get there.
Don't you hate that we have to caveat that he'll never play with the Wild? Minnesota Wild. He's already playing with the Iowa Wild. Mm-hmm. You and Z both get bonus points because you threaded the needle with 17 for each of you. For me, I wanted so badly, like at several points, I had him in my 20s because of what you said, Brett, that like it feels like he's just not even in it anymore. Like he doesn't see a path here and he's just kind of like given up. But I also I feel like in Iowa, I haven't really been, and I don't watch every single game, but I haven't liked what I've seen in Iowa, but I've loved what's happened internationally. And I'm like, what will he be if he plays in the NHL? Like, is it different? Is the AHL just not right? I don't know. But he was just the weirdest one for me to fit. Plus just all of the Russo propaganda I wanted to put him lower. 19 is as far as I could go down, given who else is in the pool.
Yeah, I mean, he's an interesting one where it's like, he gets drafted as an overager, decent skater. The thing with like, he might not have like super high end like actual skills, but like as far as like a high motor player and like effort player, he's up there as like sort of like one of the best motors in the Wild pool. That's like really taking a jump this past like 2 years, I've noticed. I remember at the time when he got drafted, it was like there's like very confusing skating situation going on, but like I think he does end up cracking an NHL lineup again. Is it Minnesota? All signs point to no, but and I saw a lot of good, a lot of questionable play in Iowa, like a bit of a mixed bag. Like you could say that again about the whole fucking roster down there, but he's obviously got like that absolute bomb. And in front of it, like he's a beast net front as far as defensive, how he defends, like plays super hard, super physical. So like another guy who's got like super high motor, super high effort, okay skating, not like high end, but it's always interesting. Like I remember there have been plenty just like shifts in Iowa where it's like he might get beat first time, like just like wide, but like will somehow always end up catching up to whoever beat him, or like whoever beat him wide somehow ends up like making work and like catching them on the back end. So it's again, like you guys were saying, bit of a confusing like path, but he might be a guy that's like with that motor, how hard he plays in his own end, especially net front, like how much of a prick he is to play against in front of like right in and around the crease. And like you combine that with the fact that he does have that absolute bomb of a shot. He's got a little bit of offensive upside. There might be a path somewhere, but again, probably a bottom pair projection if he ends up making it as a full-time guy. Is it in Minnesota? All signs point to no, but there's plenty to like. But you still have like too many questions to comfortably say like, yeah, I think he is absolutely a full-time NHL player down the line.
Well, I think the biggest question we have to ask ourselves, how many Czech Davids can you have on one roster? Specifically one blue line.
Many are asking. Also, by the way, when last night was that game against Chicago last night? I'm like time's a flat circle. I have no fucking idea. I don't know why it was throwing me off so hard that LePantha kept saying Spacek. I was like, I can't tell if you're doing this on purpose to piss me off, but I don't know what's going on. It was a real mind torpedo for me. So I'm really blacking out.
Which is funny because, like, generally speaking, LePantha on the broadcast is fine. I just can't listen to him on the podcast. But that is a special exception.
We can't help.
You mean his private forum to pump the tires of Marcus Johansson?
I support that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel like if you want kind of like the bright side or like what gets you excited about I almost just said it now. Spacek. Put it in my head about Spacek. Like obviously right now he's still under contract with the Wild. Like we haven't heard of any inklings that they want to trade him. Like he still was a very important piece in Iowa's team last year. I think he was like top 5 or 6 on the team in scoring as a defenseman on a pretty bad team. Like so if Greg Cronin can make that team better and he can be a valuable piece, I think it's twofold. Like one, like, hey, now you have another guy that can push for your spot in the NHL. And if not, like if there isn't a clear path, and then you have a good trade asset that you can use. We've talked, Garen has talked about, if a player, that a good player becomes available in the trade market and you need pieces to include in that deal. I think he could potentially become one of those really good tradable assets somewhere down the line. So I think like the best case scenario here for him is he has a really good year in Iowa, and that either helps him, move further up the Wild's defensive depth chart, or it creates a really good trade piece that they can move somewhere down the line.
Yeah, I think he was like just under half point per game. I want to say down there. I think like 30 something points in 70 something games, maybe.
31 in 72.
There you go. Which again down there that's like fucking 8 points per game. So it's decent enough production, especially the back end. Again, like that's what I'm saying. Like he has plenty of like tools that you like, and like he has the motor and the effort that like he could probably will his way into an NHL lineup full time. It's just like there are still those limitations with like the actual like just like hard skill, and eventually it's not just going to be effort that makes everything work, but like he's got the offensive toolkit. Like we see how good, like Hoppy, you were saying earlier, like how good he's been internationally. Like impressive.
You see the glimpses.
So
it's
there. So he's one of those players. He might just need an opportunity. Again, maybe just like a different situation where it's like, hey, you have runway to like make mistakes and play. But
he needs the Wild to start in Sweden again, and he needs to play in those games, and that's when he clicks.
There you
go. He can't play in the U.S. I don't know what it is.
Pretend this is World Juniors.
Pretend you're playing against 17-year-olds. All right, that is David Spacek. And moving on to the last player we're going to cover in tonight's rendition of the Minnesota Wild's top 10 or top 20. Damn it.
Damn it.
Delete. Isha, leave it in. Top 20 prospects. Number 16 is our boy Rieger Lorenz, who I'm going to keep on shamelessly promoting Fellowship of the Rink. He's one of my favorite interviews. He was so fun. He's just a cool guy. And if anyone will talk South Park with me and talk about how the Denver diving team performs at Casa Bonita, I'm in. I'm all fucking in. But I'll just lead off and keep it simple. Like, Rieger Lorenz is similar to some of the other guys we've talked about. Not necessarily that, like, it's not as much that this year is the make or break for me vaulting him or dropping him. It's just, this is an interesting year where Denver lost guys. This is the first year they're not going to be looked at as like a strong contender for the Frozen Four. We're never going to rule him out because David Carl, but he's going to have hopefully a more prominent role. We've seen him play well in a depth role, and we've seen the skill in spots. Maybe he gets more opportunity this year to showcase some of that offensive upside. I want to see what he can do. But also, I just feel like he's a guy that has the right skill set. He can play more of a complete game, and there's a spot for him in professional hockey. I just don't know exactly what the upside or downside looks like for him just yet. But so I ranked him 17. The consensus comes in at 16, as we said. The highest on him, 12, and the lowest on him, 19. So we got a pretty good consensus cluster here. You guys weigh in. Like, why do you feel strongly for or against or uncertain with Rieger Lorenz's future with the Wild?
I think you can even go back to our last show. If you look at where we had him last year, I believe he came in at, looks like he came in at 10. I had him at 7, Zeke at 8, Justin at 9, Isha at 10, Hoppy at 10. You had him at 10.
My memory is so bad. I did not even realize he was at 10.
Yeah. So we had him at 10 last year. So like, this feels like a far fall, but I don't think it's necessarily unfair. Like, you look at, like, he came off a really big performance during the national championship and the playoffs throughout college hockey.
See, right in front of us, that goal was fucking stupid.
And so, maybe there's a little bit of a recency bias with, like, that was, I think we recorded that shortly, so there might've been some recency bias there, but you look at that season too, 16 goals, 14 assists, 30 points in 44 games. That regresses this last season down to 6 goals, 14 points, 20 points in 44 games. So, like, I wouldn't necessarily say maybe he took a step back, but it doesn't feel like he took a step forward. And so I think this is, to your point, I think this is a really big year for him. If he does get more opportunity, can he get back to more of that, that dual threat passer shooter that we saw in 23-24, where he can be, push for a spot maybe as I think last year we were talking about his potential kind of middle 6 to like third line-ish type scoring winger. But also a guy that plays a little bit of an edge. He's 6'2", 194 pounds, so he's got some size to play kind of in that checking line role too. So I just think it's a huge season for him if he can get back to more of that dual threat type of player that we saw 2 years ago versus maybe the one that more took maybe a slight step backwards last year.
Dude, I don't know why, but the middle 6 thing is giving me light PTSD now. I don't know if either of you listened to Corey Pronman coming on Fellowship of the Rink, but he basically carved me when I asked him about, like, everyone's been saying Stramel's like definitely a bottom 6 forward. And you recently said that you view him as a middle 6 forward in the NHL. Like, is that what you're going to follow on? And he's like, well, it's very interesting. There is an overlap between those two things, and that's probably where he falls. I'm like, all right, fuck you.
Then just say he's a third. Then just say he's a third line center.
Like, yeah, just say he's a third line center. Like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, I thought that was a reasonable question. I feel like a middle 6 versus bottom 6. Like, there is a distinction on where you see the potential upside. But yeah, he came right back at me, and I kind of appreciate it though. He was like a very no bullshit guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always thought, like, and I was talking to someone about this the other day, like, I think Wheeler gets a lot of flack from fans because I think he tends to rate skilled prospects that people are like, the consensus is a lot higher on, a lot lower. But I think he looks a lot more at floor. Like he looks at a guy's likelihood to make it to the NHL. He doesn't really care what that ceiling looks like once he's there, but he's like, if that guy will play NHL games, I'm going to put him higher.
Well, he doesn't use an Excel spreadsheet and sort descending by height. He factors it in. He doesn't live by it.
Fair.
No, but back with Lorenz, he's such an interesting player too. Like, I remember going back before his first season at Denver, just like it's always tough to try to like gauge the AJHL because it was always it's like there's two teams really that like compete in that league, and I mean he was eviscerating the AJ. Like some of the goals he was scoring, it was just silly. But I mean, he's a kid. He's got the size that like he's fit. He can play physical. He's got an absolute bomb of a shot that like just playing at Denver, he doesn't really get a whole lot of like opportunities to use that. But what's been interesting for me is like we saw him get a ton of opportunity his sophomore season, 30 points in 44 games. And then this last season with Denver too, especially at the beginning of the year, he's playing a whole lot of like hockey at his own end, a lot of defensive shifts. So it's been interesting to see how they've used him in his 3 seasons at Denver. He's got a good taste like all over the ice, and it was really interesting learning after his sophomore year, like listening to him talk to like Russo, Joe Smith, and everyone else, or like anyone involved with the Wild, how often he was like talking to their player development group, like pretty much after there's like a few times a week that they were on the phone discussing stuff. So it's like we know that they do like him a ton. And they look at him as a future player in this organization. It is just going to be interesting for me to see what role he can really carve out, because I do think he's got the upside as far as like the offense goes with the shot, with some of the skill he has. Again, definitely more of like a goal scoring threat than like an all-out playmaker, but he can link plays. He is capable of making really nice passes. And you think he's scored like 5 or 6 short-handed goals with Denver over the last couple of years. So it's just interesting to see how often he's getting used in the PK. In like the roles that they're using him in. So I think he's got a little bit of everything going. I hope this season specifically with Denver, like you were saying before, with some of the guys that they've moved out, there's going to be more opportunity higher up in that lineup. And if they choose to use him in like a more offensive, more go-to guy as far, at least with the offensive roles, scoring, all that stuff. But he does have the tools. Again, like the shot that he can like pull off is impressive. And again, like he's shown a lot of good stuff at Denver, and obviously a really nice place to develop too. So we'll see what role he has this year. But I really like the player. Again, like there's some guys that have just taken huge steps, and then some of the guys that they drafted the last couple of years that like I've just ended up like putting them higher than Lorenz. But I think this could be a year where if he gets that top 6 role, and he's a go-to guy, potentially in the power play, like we might see another jump in production. So we'll see. But it is interesting to know that like the Wild do view him as a future player on this team, just given the fact that they were communicating with him like several times a week throughout the season 2 years ago. I mean, obviously last year too.
Yeah, and it's funny because like I put Jimmy Clark 1 spot ahead of him in my rankings. Like you could easily convince me to go the other way. I think like the physical tools, Rieger Lorenz has a way better path.
That's
for me
too, right?
it was finicky though, like, and maybe you guys think this is a stupid like nitpicky thing, but for me, like I said, Jimmy Clark is a top 12 player, right? He can literally play 1 through 4 in a pinch, not all season. Like he's not a first line guy, but like you can put him there and he's going to do what he needs to do. And for me, Rieger Lorenz is a quote unquote bottom 9 guy. Like I can see him being effective 2nd, 3rd, 4th line. I just haven't seen enough to say I could see him like being a suitable fill-in guy on a first line. That's like really where I picked Jimmy over him by 1 spot. And that's just like a weird, I needed a tiebreaker.
Fair enough. And I think too, to your guys' point, like just for the roster turnover in Denver, he is one of 2 senior forwards on that team this year. And I think one of 3 seniors on the entire roster. So a young team, like I would imagine, given that he's a senior, he's been around, he's been a successful player for them. I don't think they've announced captains yet this year, but maybe another potential guy that could be a leader in that locker room too, and someone they lean on in that aspect too. And, being kind of one of those type of guys that needs to set the tone, be a voice in the locker room, I think that can do a lot for kind of your personal psyche too. So I think to our point that we've kind of making, this is going to be a huge year for him. And I'm really excited to kind of see what he can do. Like, I know he's further down in my rankings, but I wouldn't say I'm like necessarily less optimistic on him than I was last year. I'm wondering if the floor is now maybe a little bit lower than what we originally thought.
And there's
I think he falls in that like 12 to 20.
Yeah,
he falls
sure.
in like that 12 to 20 thing for me, where I'm like, again, like realistically pretty close to any order.
But we see it happen every year, right? Like we've got a couple years of history here. Like the guys that have a lower floor but a higher ceiling, and it's the shiny new toy, like they tend to get slotted slightly ahead of some of these guys. And again, it's going to be the thing where this season is going to tell us, okay, is Rieger Lorenz guy in the 20s, or okay, maybe he's flirting closer to low teens 10, right? But that's a wrap. And omission on my part, I probably should have had one more graphic that just showed the final 16 through 20, but I'll run it down for all of you. We'll start back at 20. We got Jimmy Clark of the Gophers, 19, Aaron Pionk of the UMD Bulldogs, Mikey Milne of the Minnesota/Iowa Wild. Now we don't have to go back any further for him at this point, I guess. David Spacek, who I guess I want to say Czechia because that's the best version of him. And 16, Rieger Lorenz, going back for his senior year at Denver, which I hate that it's University of Denver, but everyone calls them DU. Explain that to me.
Can't.
Okay. As long as we're on the same page, we're good.
Keep it simple.
Cool. That's a wrap for this week. Again, next week, same time, 9 o'clock Central, we will run down prospects 11 through 15 of the heralded Minnesota Wild prospect pool.
Yeah. There are a lot of guys in that range that I'm kind of excited to talk about, because I think this is where it really starts to get interesting, where I think there's a lot of unknown, exciting ceilings with some of these guys that I think we'll definitely be hitting on with. I think there's specifically two players that I'm kind of pumped to talk about here next week.
I mean, from here on out, that it is going to be a lot more like these are guys that we're trying to talk ourselves into. Like, are we too high? Are we too low? We don't know. Mm-hmm. From here on out, it's mostly guys that we're excited about, and then we're all just arguing about who we should be more excited about. And thankfully, Isha wasn't here this week when we put Stevie Lescovar on the screen.
Yeah, for fuck's sake.
I was actually proud of him. Hang on. I need to give Isha his flowers because he ranked Stevie Lescovar 10. I expected him to be top 5.
I expect him to rank first off again.
Yeah. But before Isha went in and put in his rankings, I just put a 1 next to Lescovar before he even started ranking.
I was like, my work here is done. Yeah, fuck it.
And Isha accomplished nothing the rest of the day.
Yeah, he's like, I'm good. My work here is done. I'm good.
Oh man. So that's it for this week for the prospect piece. Brett, you're the only one here with us. So if you want to hang out and talk Minnesota Wild, you are welcome to hang out, but we are going to jump back into that. Let's see. Mateo, I don't even know where we left off on graphics. I'm going to find it. We'll just do that. Yeah, we're going to figure this out.
It's man bear pig.
It shows that I just haven't done production in too long. Cool. But I guess let's just start. And Z, I'll kick it over to you first. We got the latest cuts yesterday and today. There's one in particular for me that's bothersome, but I want to hear from you. Like, how many guys do you look at and say you're either bothered or surprised by versus like, yeah, I knew that was going to happen?
I think the one for me that like I have a lot of questions just like moving forward short term for the player, but Haight Lambos is the one for me that I was pretty disappointed they sent down.
That's my one.
A lot of good shifts, couple bad ones, but even then I'm like not really that many like super egregious mistakes or anything. Again, he's another player for me that like I don't know how much more development runway with the Iowa Wild necessarily there is for him. He kind of strikes as a player that like just needs to like get a look amongst NHL competition to kind of like work out like the speed of the game, so that how much faster he has to make decisions, stuff like that. But I don't know, that was the one for me that stuck out. Especially like there's plenty of questions in the air, like what the opening night decor is going to look like. So that was one for me specifically that was pretty disappointing. Again, I thought he had a lot of good moments in the preseason, at least the games that he was playing in. Plenty of good moments in the showcase as well. So that was the most disappointing one for me.
That's the only really disappointing one to me, if I'm being honest. So yeah, nailed it. Any Brett for you that you feel differently about?
No, I think I'm in lockstep with you guys there in Lambos. I will say there was an interesting little nugget in Russo's article today about that. And that was that it's possible that Jonas Brodin might be ahead of schedule in terms of his injury recovery, and that he could be back for night one. And if that's the case, I think the sending Lambos down makes a lot of sense.
Or that he was the number 7, even without Brodin being factored in. It's like, I don't want him to be the 7, so I agree then. It's still
exactly.
I thought he did enough to warrant sticking around for one more game to see if he could push for an opening night thing. That's my thing. I'm not disappointed that he's going to Iowa. I'm disappointed that they didn't give him one more game to see.
Well, and I'm not certain that even that's what that means. I think you look at you might be keeping some of these last minute waiver guys up on your roster if you plan to sign them the 2 ways. I have no idea what their plan is with Jack Johnson. I hope it's to cut him and never bring him back in this organization ever again. I'd rather bring back John Merrill personally than have to watch Jack Johnson on my screen.
Hey,
but
Jack Johnson's here, so we have a 5% chance of getting Sidney Crosby. That's the only reason I can even convince myself it makes any sense, because Brett, you're dealing with Jack Johnson after winning a cup on a PTO. I got Jack Johnson on a 3x5, give or take, when he had no fucking business getting one.
Oh no, I agree. Like I've
That's
never liked him. Like he's analytically been one of like the worst defensemen in the NHL for several years. I think he was in his couple stints last year. I think he was slightly better, but that bar was basically on the floor.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. I'm hoping that this report that Brody may be healthier and that if he responds well to camp, I'd be pretty pumped about that to get him back sooner rather than later. The other player, I wouldn't necessarily bum that he got sent down, but Kierstead, I thought, had kind of an out of nowhere surprising camp. Like, I think he came in on a tryout, and I thought there were some moments like when I was watching preseason games, like, oh, who was that making that good play? And it was like several times it was Kierstead. A bigger size, like I think a guy that could really, really help. If he's with your Spacek or someone like that down in Iowa, I think that's a really good player to have down there. And if it gets to a point, I think where last year you have all these injuries, a guy that I would feel a little bit better about coming into the lineup and being able to at least be serviceable. So I thought he had a really good preseason, and I liked that they were able to kind of find him, bring him in, and that he looked impressive through his couple preseason games and throughout camp.
Hard to argue, and I'll go hand up too, because I'm talking a lot of shit about Jack Johnson. When he was in LA, I thought he was so fucking sick. I thought he was so good, and then he left.
Zach Bogosian was good at one point too. Like things change, man.
That's a little bit different with age. Like the second that Jack Johnson left, it was like, oh nope, okay, LA knew. That's why they traded him. Got it. Like he wasn't good in Columbus, and he was despicable in Pittsburgh. We don't talk
the second
about
that 5 year, I was like 5 year, five
year,
year.
It was like 3.25 over 5 years. I'm like, what are you doing, Rutherford? That goes back to everyone talks about. First off, he is the GM in Vancouver. He just shut the hell up. He wins almost every trade, and he loses almost every free agent signing. There's just like, let him have his lane. He should be general manager, president of hockey trades, and not allowed to sign anyone.
Yeah. I mean, so like, and like when I look at what this decor could look like on opening night, not just like the 6 on the ice, but like in totality, the guys on the roster, I can handle like the Wild having one of Bogosian and Jack Johnson. One. They're both on this fucking NHL roster. Like I can't fucking do it. And if they're both in the lineup on the same night, I'm gonna lose my shit.
That would suck.
My fucking mind.
Especially if they're playing together. Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, and for listeners of Wildly Informed, I know I talk about how much I hate plus minus as a stat, but it has its merits in certain situations. Jack Johnson has been a minus player in every single season he's played in since 2007, outside of 2 seasons, one of which was the 23-24 Avalanche that were basically a super team. And it would be like nearly impossible to be a minus on that team. Like, this is a guy who just bleeds goals at 5-on-5. He's just not good.
I wouldn't even say like, I'm not arguing because I think we're saying similar things, but I wouldn't even say that it has merit at times. I think you ignore it except for the outliers. If you're plus 50, minus 50, like, I'm paying attention.
Correct.
But if you're like if you're plus 10, minus 10, like, I don't fucking care. Show me what else is happening. Like, give me the deeper analytics or just show me what you're doing on the ice. But like, yeah, if you're regularly a minus and it's like a notable minus, I'm paying attention for sure.
Like, that's I'm gonna see if I can find his on ice expected goals for over his career. Give me a minute. Has he not played a preseason game? Why isn't he coming up on here? Oh, there you are. My browser, I think I have too many windows open.
What if we just started a podcast called Plus Minus? The hate comments alone would probably just get us all the views we need.
That's preseason, regular season, 5-on-5 on ice. There you go.
Bradley, we love you. Sorry you came late. But it's okay. It'll be there for you to watch. And I'm going to clip it after the fact and post it out a couple of times. So it'll be there for you.
Mm-hmm.
And as Brett said, this week he didn't even care. Like, this wasn't the fun week. Starting next week, he's going to get really excited.
20 seasons in the NHL, not a single one where he's had a above 50% Corsi share. That'll fit right in on the Wild.
Brother.
How's he on faceoffs?
I like the face-off talk. I'm gonna like that. It
was also a joke because it's Jack Johnson that we're talking about.
No, I know, but the word face-off and Wild, like, I lose my mind now. It comes up so often. It's been egregiously bad.
It gave us one of the greatest clips that we've had covering the Wild, did it not?
It's true.
Two face-offs.
Also, this guy's a PDO merchant too. By the way, his goaltenders outside of 2 years have had above a 90% save percentage at 5-on-5 with him on the ice. Like, this guy bleeds chances, but his goal is consistently bail him out. Like, he truly will fit right in on the Wild's third pair.
Hell yeah, dude!
As long as it's not him and Bogosian, like,
correct,
we can figure it out.
If Spacek, or not Spacek, if Jiricek is in the press box game 1, I will be incredibly angry.
We're just going to coin it David Check moving forward.
There you go.
It's the end of both their names and it's their nationality. David Check. Then you're never wrong.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's flip then. We talked about some of the negatives. Like, what are the positives so far? What are we excited about? And I'll start with a positive that's also a negative for me. How pissed are we all going to be when Hunter Haight doesn't get a shot opening night?
It's one where I think we're all going to be sitting there like, yeah, understanding. That being said, like, he has just been so good. Like,
I can understand it and be pissed.
Yeah, I was surprised how well he played at center all season in Iowa in the AHL last year. Like, I thought it was like a big jump. He had like a really kind of like weird OHL couple of years where it was like he was really used in like that middle six, like kind of like a secondary offensive guy, but he's got a ton of skill. He can score, can make plays, but he also is a responsible two-way player. Obviously moves really well. Like, there's a lot to like. And when you just look at, like, again, like the skating, the skill, and the playmaking, like, you just see all the upside. Just given like the slight frame, he's not like overly physical. There's always just going to be questions. Can he play middle of the ice? Even in like the AHL, is he to struggle? And he kind of just stepped right in and did not look out of place whatsoever. Again, we said it before, like with him and Milne, like those are two of the guys in Iowa who were pretty consistently playing well throughout that season, which again on that roster was impressive. So I just think he's just been really good. I mean, he looked good last year in the preseason as well. So I've just been impressed with the jump that he's made from the OHL to pro hockey, playing in the middle of the ice. Makes a lot of flashy plays. Again, scores again last night net front. So I love Hunter Haight. Love the play. Love the way that he plays. He makes a lot of flashy plays, but again, just his ability to play the middle of the ice at the pro level has been really impressive.
Another one where I love the person too, because maybe you don't remember Z, because I know you've had a couple concussions of late, but who are the two players that I pointed out to you that we've done interviews with on Fellowship of the Rink that I'm like, these are the most confident people ever, but in completely different ways?
It's the Haight.
Haight, honestly, I think he alphaed me. It doesn't show up in the interview, but I came out of that being like, yeah, that guy's better than me in every way. I don't know why. And then you got Riley Haight, who is the most reserved, humble, but I know how fucking good I am. It's okay. Those two I'm so excited for. And I am higher on Haight. Haight is probably he's not my number one guy in the pool, as we'll find out as we go through all of this, but he's my number one guy. He's my guy. He needs to be in Iowa. Him being sent back down doesn't shock me at all. I'm excited to see what he can do a full season down there. Haight though, I think the kid's fucking ready. That doesn't mean that he's stapled in as a full-time NHLer, and I know he probably won't be on the opening night roster, but the kid is ready. He can handle it. I want them to give him some tastes.
Yeah, and I will say I think I did my rankings before that last preseason game, and honestly, that last preseason game might have even had me bump him up a couple spots.
I did as well. I didn't go back and change it because integrity.
So exactly same. But just some numbers under the hood, and it's preseason, it's a mix of who they're playing against. But you look at his last preseason in 2 games, he had a 30.01 expected goal share at 5-on-5. This preseason, that is up to 69.2% right now. So controlling nearly, over 2/3 of the offense, playing really good on both ends of the ice. He's got almost one individual expected goal in all situations. I think he's done everything to prove that if they need him this year, he can be a reliable player they can call up. I think he's a guy that you probably can move a little bit up and down your lineup. Could he be on the top line? No, but in a pinch, if there's injuries down the middle again, and you want to keep Hartman and Foligno get together, and if Danila Urov isn't working out at center right away or whatever, he is a guy I think that could fill it on your second line in a pinch. As for my feelings, where if he's playing opening night, I think right now it's the question of, is there a spot? I think they like him at center, so I don't think they want to necessarily move him to the wing. So if Nico Sturm is out, I think that 4C is his spot for the taking if Sturm is out. Otherwise, I think he's more or less earned probably the top line center spot in Iowa start the year, which I think is honestly just it's a great spot to be if that team's going to be better, and he can kind of be an engine that sort of drives their offense. So, and I think whether it's been development camp or the preseason, I know the numbers maybe in previous preseasons for him haven't popped off the page, but he's always a player that seems to me he's noticeable for the right reasons. He can make some flashy plays. The goal he scored the other night, going to the net, getting his stick in position, finishing the chances, all that stuff goes a really long way. And he kind of stands out to me all the time, doing the right things, making the flashy plays and succeeding at them too, without, being a total dumbass in the defensive zone.
Well, and I mean, you got guys like Marcus Foligno coming out and saying right away, no, the guy I notice is Hunter Haight. And very funny. I'm looking right now because we talked about it. We won't throw out any numbers, but Brett, you and I are tied for the lowest on Hunter Haight. Shocking. But on the flip side of that, so you say if Nico Sturm's out, a guy that, I mean, none of the three of us really care about, right? Nico Sturm.
Yeah, no one could possibly. I am heavily debating the 25th anniversary Sturm jersey. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I've never liked those jerseys.
I don't love them. I think they're fine.
If you're in it for just the nostalgia, then fine. I respect it, whatever. The only thing that's positive about that jersey is it's the jersey that the greatest Wild player of all time wore. His name's Petteri Newman.
Shoulder shimmy.
Shoulder shimmy, baby. But my question for both of you then is, if we're saying, hey, that 4C spot is Hunter Haight's. Opening night, where is Danila Yurov?
Press box 13th forward.
Okay, that's all I needed to hear.
And I don't. And I'm not like, I'll Z answer, then I can give my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, he's had an interesting camp where, like, I think he came in the showcase in the beginning of the preseason. There were some question marks. I thought he's got better as time's gone on. I think, let's say he is in that 12-man unit to start the year. And like, if he is on that opening night roster, he's in the lineup, I think it probably serves him best, to be honest, to start at the wing. Again, you just like look at the spots that are going to be available. That's where the question are. And I think it's fine. Like, we talked about this before. It would not shock me if he starts his NHL career on the wing. Like, I wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. Because I mean, it's realistically been like he's shifted to the middle of the ice in the KHL, and it was actually like realistically, it was like crazy how it kind of popped off that first full year with Metallurg, how well he played on that championship team. So I mean, yeah, I haven't seen enough of the middle of the ice make me feel super comfortable that he can like be an NHL center right away. I think like down the line he will be. But I think I've just seen more from Haight. Like, I'd be more comfortable with him there, like at that 4C spot if that's open. The thing that's interesting too that I was going to mention with Haight specifically, and it'll be interesting to see if the trend continues, if they actually stick to this. They are putting a lot more skilled players on like that first PK unit, even if it's just like the first 10, 15, 20 seconds. Like Hunter Haight was out there like taking face off PK1, and I was like, holy shit, did not see that coming. That was not on my bingo card. So we'll see if they go. I mean, anything they want to fucking try in the PK, I'm down. Like, try whatever. Like, I don't care. Like, this cannot.
Nothing's off the table besides doing the same thing.
Put Fleury in the middle of the ice in the PK. I don't fucking care. Just try whatever you want. But it was interesting to see him out there on that first PK unit taking face-offs, and just like seeing them throw more skilled guys out there on the PK. It'll be interesting to see if that continues to start the year. I think that's something to talk about.
6 minutes of PK time, only 3 shots and zero goals against in those 6 minutes. So, and he's done it decently well. Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong player. That's Yurov, who's also actually been good on the PK apparently. I thought I went to Haight.
Yeah, that's the thing with Yurov too. Like, there's especially the last couple of years. I mean, definitely in his draft year, which was tough because he like played such little hockey just because the KHL, that's how they roll. But obviously, like the big flashy plays that people who haven't like watched Yurov for years and years see is like the highlight reel plays. That's what you're gonna notice. That's what like those are the clips that get tweeted out. But he is just like a really solid two-way forward. Like, he has the skill, can score goals, can make plays, but like he is an advanced defensive player as well. So that's one thing with Yurov too that he's got going for him.
But I hate to boil it down to this. I guess my question's because I know Brett's gonna expand on this because he yielded to you to continue talking, but like, if it's just cut and dry, one of them is in the lineup and it is as the 4C, you lean Hunter Haight over Danila Yurov.
Right now, just like what we've seen. And I mean, again, like Yurov is still adjusting to North American ice anyways, and North American like style of game. So I think I've just seen like at the center position, I've seen more like pro tendencies from Haight the last like couple of years. So I think right now he just looks like he's more poised for that spot. Like, to be able to step in and kind of succeed in that role anyway. So yeah, I probably lean Haight right now, just given what we've seen.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at too. Like, and this is not a slight on Yurov. Like, I don't think he's necessarily come in done anything wrong, or I feel like, nope, he doesn't look ready and like because of XYZ. I just think the Wild are still kind of trying to figure out where he best fits. Like, obviously, it's a little bit harder. You're probably not watching as many games in person over in the KHL. So you're probably getting a lot of kind of your firsthand looks at maybe where some of those strengths are. You haven't, I think he's showed you he's played a couple different roles. We're just talking about he's looked pretty solid on the PK. He's got to play with some skilled players. I'm very curious to see how he's kind of maybe using these upcoming preseason games, where if he continues to get a look with, the Tarasenko, Eriksson X, kind of maybe is he with those two? Does he get a look on the left side if Nico Sturm plays, or do they throw him alongside of Yakov Trenin, who sounds like has been a very good mentor for him early on here in his time? And I think just figuring out like, hey, can he be a center? Do we want to make him a center, or do we want to start him off on the wing, and kind of figuring out where he fits? And I think that's why he maybe starts as the 13th forward. But I think if he's open to it, I think he's a guy that would benefit from time in the AHL just to kind of learn the North American game, kind of figure out where your strengths are, get comfortable. And then he's a guy, I think to Mateo's point in chat, maybe it's not a 19 game stint to start, but it's, maybe it's a Boldy path where you're going to go be really successful in the AHL. You're going to figure things out. And then when we need kind of an ace in the hole, kind of down the stretch of the season, we're going to call you up and you're going to be a boost to our team, kind of a free trade acquisition deadline in a way, is, hey, we're going to get this guy. He's going to inject some offense into our team because he's figured out the game. So that's kind of where I see him. But I think there's been a lot to like. I think it's now just getting him more comfortable and figuring out where that fit is to get the most out of him for this season. I think going forward, he's a guy I think have the utmost confidence he's going to be a top 6 center on this team, or forward. I shouldn't say center for sure, but forward.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah, I guess for me, if I knew for a fact, like if Danil Yurov came out and said that he's amenable to playing in Iowa, I lean that way too. The only reason I'm hesitant is because I feel like the Russia factor,
the European out clause for sure.
He wins any remote perception of a tie between him and Haight. I think Haight has looked better, even though I've really liked some of the things I've seen from Yurov. But it's like, if they're even close, they're picking Yurov over Haight because of that factor. Unless there's something we're not hearing behind the scenes where he's like, no, I understand. Like, you've done this with other players. They've played a couple months down there. You see Boldy and Rossi. They play down there. They come up. They never go back. Like, great. Maybe you talk them into that. But the Russia factor always makes me nervous, especially when we're worried about an even bigger Russia factor, which, Z and I have pretty much exhausted this topic, but we'll give it to you, Brett, because people haven't heard from you. Like, what is your take on the man they call Kirill Kaprizov?
We talked about
go to that school.
We talked about it a lot on Wildly Informed. I think about a week after kind of all that went down is when we were finally able to kind of get on and chat about it. Or it might have been, no, I think it was immediately after.
Time's a flat circle since COVID.
It literally is. The days blend together so quickly. It's unbelievable. But I said on there, and I maintain, I think him turning down an 8-year extension is not necessarily a bad thing for the Wild. I think you look at a guy that's going to be 29 when the contract kicks in, a guy, potentially no fault to his own, but has been hurt, a fair amount in his time a little bit, especially last year.
I love that caveat. Yeah. I want to get out ahead of it. I'm not blaming Kaprizov for being injured.
No, it's not his fault that Logan Stanley.
Injured.
Yeah, and Logan Stanley crawled on his back and it fucked him up. Like, it is what it is. But so like I still maintain that I think the best solution is if you have to bump up that AAV $1 million, $1.5 million, and you can cut that deal down to a 3 or 4 year deal. I think that's a best case because now you're getting probably the rest of the true prime years of Kaprizov. I still think he'll be a good player into his mid-30s, but he's not going to be a MVP caliber, like 90-point player. He's probably more of, he's maybe a 70 to 80-point player at that point, where he's more of like a good top 6 forward or a top-line wing, but maybe no longer that MVP level. At the same time, I think that's going to put pressure on Bill Guerin. Like, hey, I have 4 years of the best player I've ever had in my franchise. I have to do whatever it takes. I have a window to go all in. And I think as fans, like, we've kind of been waiting for that, like that green light of like, do everything. Like, you've built the prospect pool, you have the star player, you have the 4-year window. Now you're like, this is your time. Go do whatever it takes to bring a cup and to get out of the first round of the playoffs. So that's kind of where I see it. The more and more you hear it, I think initially it was really blown out of proportion. Like, oh, he doesn't want to be here. It sounds like that's not really the case.
I get it though. I do.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But I think it sounds like both sides have kind of shot that down, and it just sounds like there's just some more negotiating needs to go on. And, he's got a full year left, So am I a little worried? Yes. How can't you be? But am I like hitting the panic alarm? I don't think I'm nearly as close to it as I was a couple weeks ago.
It's funny though, because like I'm with like the general sentiment of what you said, but it's funny because like there was one conflicting part there where it's like, I agree that the pressure's on Guerin to win in that 4-year window, but only because like this is your chance, not because like you need to convince Kaprizov to stay. It's like, I want him for 4 or 5 years, and then he can go do whatever the fuck he wants. I don't care at that point. Like that is your window though to win. But it everyone likes to frame it though, like other shows. I'm not saying that's what you said, but like a lot of people like to say, "Oh, you've got to show Kaprizov that it's worth staying after that 4 years." It's like I don't care if he stays at that point. He's probably going to want too much money for what he's worth at that point. I want to milk him for all he's worth over those 4 years.
No,
it's a great scenario.
No, I think that's where I'm at too. Like, I think that's what I was getting at. You summed it perfectly. Like, I'm completely with you on that.
So I'll ask both of you because Z, it kind of changes every week for us, but Brett, you first. When do you panic if a contract has not been reached?
Christmas?
Oh, shit. All right. You're way more relaxed than me.
Yeah.
Z, where are you at?
Probably like Thanksgiving.
I'm October. If he's not signed in the month of October, I'm like, all right, get trade
days,
options, get out.
Yeah, the week, I'd say, yeah.
If I don't get off of this show and see a post from Russo saying that a deal is close, I'm out.
Yeah.
We need to get Malk in here. They're clearly friends because they did one workout video together. Yeah. And also, I would selfishly, I would be so happy. Oh my God. I'd go from attending 0 games live this season to attending all of them live.
Well, and I will say, like, the for the Wild angle, and like I know this quote's gotten some heat, but when Leopold said like no one can pay Kaprizov more money than we can, he's not lying. Like, right,
but that's also that's why I side with Kaprizov in this. I would turn down the first offer you give me, no matter what it is.
Yeah,
like, oh, you'll pay me whatever. Hey. 8x16. He didn't even hear the numbers you said. Pass. What do you got? What's the next offer?
But what I want to get at though is like, and you can argue like, oh, well, there could be a team out there that wants to pay him $20 million over 4 years. But if Kirill Kaprizov gets injured, there ain't no team that's going to be lining up to pay him more than what the Wild just offered. The Wild may not even go back and offer that much. So it's a bet on himself to potentially get more, but it's also a bet on himself to get a lot less. And so I think if you're looking for the optimism side from a Wild fan perspective, there has to be, I think, for me, some motivation for him to at least choose the path forward, like where he's going to give Wild the clarity, either I'm going to stay here or I am not. Like, I don't think it's something he's just going to let drag on and where it'll be kind of this, like, nothing, like, you know, where it was for Ross, where it's like nothing is happening. They're not talking. Like, I do think it's going to go one way or the other. And I think either way, that's good for the Wild, because if you can trade Kirill Kaprizov, as much as that would suck for the franchise, you are going to get some very good players back in that trade.
Unless he says, I'll go to this one team and this one team only, which has been the trend.
Yeah. I mean, and he has that control, but, you know, I still think, like, you look at kind of that Matthew Tkachuk, Jonathan Huberdeau, like, I think that's the type of trade you'd be looking at. Like, a star player will have to come back, or Bill Guerin is not entertaining it. I don't see that happening. He's not going to take 4 first-round picks for Kaprizov. He just won't.
I don't want Jonathan Huberdeau. I'll take first-round picks instead.
No. Obviously that didn't work out.
I know. Yeah. All right. General sentiment, though, totally get it. Agree. We'll end it on this then for the Wild, because we do have to real quick touch on our new adoptive team. And we're really just going to use the segment to get Brett's opinion on them, since Z and I weren't 100% sure what we were going to talk about. But Z, I'll go to you first. But basically, give me one thing that you both want to see. Like, what are you watching most closely for the rest of the preseason with the Wild? As Mateo throws up the mammoth.
That rock.
Sleep at the wheel. What are you watching for? Like, what do you care about to round out the preseason before we start actual hockey?
Yeah, I mean, still, the two that I'm going to be watching the closest are going to be, like, what does Yurov continue looking like, and then Jiricek specifically. Like, I've loved Jiricek the preseason. Like, again, I want players like Jiricek to experiment, make mistakes, like, and, like, utilize some of the tools that they have, like, because they're obviously not be playing mistake-free hockey their whole fucking career. So I want to see them, like, go out and do it. And again, I want to see him get the opportunity to, like, just play more and more minutes, because we talked about this last year when, like, the whole fucking team was injured and Jiricek got called up and played 5-6 games. he looked like he fit in already, and then obviously goes back down to Iowa, has that really bad injury, and now we're here. But I thought it was crazy just how much people have even brought up like a potential like Jiricek trade. I was like, we just did like, what do we do?
Just did the Jiricek trade.
What do you mean? This was the trade. Like, this happened. There was a thing that just happened. He's here. So like again, I want to see him in this lineup. I think he's ready to play. And I just think he might just be able to just benefit from playing in the NHL and like just adjusting to the speed of the game that way as well. And again, like not being afraid of making mistakes, like utilizing the tools that he has. But I just like a ton of what he brings to the table on the back end. So hopefully he just continues to get more leash.
I gotta say, man, my ADHD brain and the way that that we always think TV and movie quotes on here. The way that you delivered Experiment when you were talking about Jiricek, and Cosgrove's probably the only person that'll laugh at this with me, but all I could go to was the first ever episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia when Mac is sitting there. He's like, yeah, you had an experiment. You didn't like the experiment. Now you want to go back to before the experiment. And he's like, why do you keep saying experiment? What?
That's what I was going for.
It's so good. But all right, we can move past it. But yes, I'm on the Jiricek train as well. I want to see him get out and just try things. Brett, what are you watching besides Haight and not Lambos?
Yeah, I think I have one comment kind of on the Z's like trade, the prospect who hasn't worked out yet. Like the Wild have like deranged Brock Faber syndrome, where there's this expectation of like, oh, hey, we have very good, highly drafted rookie. He looks like shit in year one. He is a bust. And it's like, because he's not like Brock Faber, who was not shit in year one. And it's just like this robotic.
Defensemen are actually historically immediately good.
Yeah.
All
and
of
like,
them.
And it's just like all this stuff is like, oh, Ogren had a bad game. He's now a bust. I'm like, the kid is like 21 years old. Like same with Jesper Valsa. Like people forget how young the kid. Like goalies aren't usually good till they're 25, like 26 years old before they start to be like true everyday starters. Like there are some exceptions, but it's very rare. So like temper the expectations around young players. Like there is going to be growing pains. And I've seen this with Bloomer. The guy is 20 years old. Like he is going to make mistakes. Like he is going to have to learn that he can't walk the blue line in the NHL like he could in college. Like the players are better. But there is still a lot of upside there and a lot to be excited about. And like, don't get too hung up on the bad because the guy probably has a 15-year career ahead of him. And we're in like day 15 right now. So that's my thoughts on that. As far as like I'm watching for, like, I want to see Liam Ogren like seize the second line left wing spot. Like, I think he's had a solid camp. I think there's been some really good moments, but I'm especially like doing one of these now over Ogren because I think Russo today either insinuated either on his podcast or in the article about camp cuts that if like nothing happens with Ogren, like if they don't think he's fit for the second line, that'll be Marcus Johansson again. And I cannot do another season of Marcus Johansson top six forwards. So I really want Liam Ogren to step up and be the guy on that line. We haven't got to see him with Eriksson Ek yet, and I think that's going to be a big help because I think they have, like, I wouldn't even call it like a complementary skill set, but I think like they do a lot of things similarly. And like if Vlad Tarasenko can be dishing to Ogren with Ek in front of the net, and Ogren and Ek can be the ones on the forecheck, like there is a lot to be afraid of there in terms of what they can do. Like I think he could be almost like a baby Boldy in the way that we've seen Ek and Boldy be really successful. So I think that's what I'm excited for, is to finally see what Ogren looks like next to Ek, because we haven't got a good look at that yet.
Well, I feel like you talked yourself basically there, but pop quiz, because pretty much anytime you've been on with us for either NHL draft coverage or talking about prospects, this has come up. What is Z's wet dream line?
Oh, it's the same one as mine. It's Boldy, Ek, and Jogren.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did that just turn into Jogren?
It might have, yeah. I don't know why.
Okay. I'm in for it. But yeah, no, I need him to at least get a fair shake on that second line, because he's looked the part, man. He fits. And it's funny, random like side tangent that I don't know how I've been trying to find a way to tie this in for hockey, because you brought up like the growing pains. There was a guy that I worked with at a tech sale company where he literally closed like one of the bigger deals at the company because someone came on and talked about how they weren't going to buy from us because, oh, your company's going through growing pains. And like, that's like what everyone's really worried about that. And like the competitor is like the cheap option. He's like, sure, dude. Do you want to sign with the company that has growing pains or dying pains? And just didn't talk for the next 10 seconds. And the guy like was like, all right, send over the agreement. So I want to come up with a way that dying pains can be like tied in talking about players and prospects, but I don't know. But that was like the best mic drop moment ever. Like he came out of that and it was like Wolf of Wall Street, just like, oh,
hell yeah.
No, those are good things to watch. I'm curious, and it's not even as much preseason as it is going into the regular season, but we've seen like, I won't say like hardcore struggles, but there's been ups and downs for Z Williams so far. I'm curious to see how much leash he has given the stock and just everything, like both internally and with the fan base. Like, how much rope does this kid get when they gave him absolutely zero in the postseason? And it's different, I know, but I am really curious to see where that goes and how long he's just the de facto, you're going to be on the first or second pair and you're going to be the first power play guy. Do they let him experiment, kind of like Z's talking about with Juracek? Like, let him fuck around and find out versus, oh, you made a couple mistakes. Fuck you.
Yeah. And like, I don't want to say that Williams going to have like a Lane Hudson type of season, but like that's in the range of outcomes. And I was talking about with someone yesterday is like, he's made some pretty big errors in preseason with turning pucks over in the offensive zone, some poor defensive positioning, like a lot of things on the defensive side of the puck where he's definitely looked like a 20-year-old who's historically spent his entire time in the offensive zone where he excels. But what I said in that comment is like, we've seen in the past, like players like Connor Bedard and Lane Hudson still be a very valuable asset to their team in terms of getting offensive going, while having pretty much a non-existent game defensively. And also in that, and to Mateo's point in the chat here, like we have not seen him yet next to Jared Spurgeon, and there may not be a better defenseman in the league, maybe outside of Jacob Slavin, who can you can pretty much slap any bum on his left D, and he can make that guy look like a very, very good player.
I love Spurgeon as much as the next guy, but aligning him with Slavin is kind of crazy to me. But I get what you're saying there, and for me, it's I don't know. When you're Boyum and you know the pedigree and you know that you've got some leash, I want to see him fuck up in the preseason. I want to see him take those chances because this isn't like his tryout to make the team. He knows he's on the team. So go out there and fuck around. If he's doing that shit for the first 5 games of the season regularly and not like learning from these things, then I'm concerned. But like seeing him fuck up a couple times here and there in the early games, as long as he's not repeating these mistakes over and over, I want to see him test the boundaries because he can play defense. Everyone's like, oh, he's all offense. Like, no, the dude can play defense. Yeah. But I want to see him push the limits, and especially if he's going to play with a Spurgeon or maybe someday a Faber or Brodin, like let him push the boundaries offensively, knowing he's got support and he will fit in and figure out the defensive part of the game. That takes longer for 99% of defensemen. If you're not Brock Faber and you're not Cale Makar, like, yeah, it's going to take a second for you to understand playing defense in the NHL, right?
Yeah, and I think like an aspect I think not a lot of people are totally thinking about for the Wild is like we've had some good defensemen before, like, but we've never had like a truly offensively dynamic defenseman. We had Ryan Suter 2 seasons with 51 points. And then Dumba a season with 50.
We had Brent Burns' cousin who had no facial hair.
Right. But like, I mean, they've had like guys that can chip in offense, but never that have really been able to drive offense in a way that you see a lot of like these Norris Calabrino, Prime Eric Carlson, Chris Letang, Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes.
No, disrespect. What? You named all of these players, just naming their names. Prime Eric Carlson. You could have just said Eric Carlson. Everyone knows you're not talking about this year.
That's true.
Well,
to be fair, Eric Carlson
people
still can drive.
Come in and say no offense. You should have just let in with offense.
Yeah, I mean
Prime Eric Carlson.
he still can do a lot defensively or offensively, even at this point. But like the Wild never had that guy, so I'm like, I think it'll be interesting to like, you would assume that in certain situations where it makes sense, like getting him out there for offensive zone faceoffs, getting him out there with Kaprizov and just seeing like basically adding a fourth forward in your offensive zone. The Wild, I think I can always kind of tell some nights when the offense is on because they really they did it a lot under Dean Evison, haven't done it as much under Hines, but they kind of utilize almost this high cycle using the defenseman where they'll run like a typical cycle that you run behind the net where you're kind of cycling down in the corner. They'll run that up at the blue line. And I think Bouillam's ability is going to make those types of plays in the offensive zone and those forechecks more fun because he's now a guy that, maybe he can sneak down a wing and dangle through guys or find a soft spot that maybe a guy like a Faber or a Middleton or a Spurgeon who maybe are a little bit more on the defensive side are being more cautious. He's going to take some of those chances, but I think his offensive IQ is going to help maybe convert some of those chances and add an element to the forward group that the Wild haven't really ever had in their history.
This is fair. Okay. Well, with that, I know it's getting late. Z's getting tired. We're going to wrap it here talking about the adoptive Central Division team. We have the Utah Mammoth. What do you think about this team? Is this a team that you think is being overhyped? Is this a team that you think is a surefire playoff team? Are they bubble? Like, how do you feel outside looking in? Are you worried about the Utah Mammoth?
No, I wouldn't say I'm worried. Like I like a lot of I think they had one of the best off seasons of any team this year. I liked a lot of the moves they make. Obviously, adding JJ Peterka to their forward group is a huge get. I just like some of the depth signings. Like, I think this is a team that, do they scare me this year? No, but I think they have a lot of really good pieces in place. Like, I see them as a team that could kind of overtake Winnipeg here in the next couple of years. I think they're going to be neck and neck with the Wild. Like, I think even this year, I think I have them 5th in my NHL or in my Central Division standings, but I would not be surprised if they squeaked into the playoffs and had a really good year. I would not be surprised. I think my real only concern with them is how far can their goaltending take them? Because I think they have, I don't think they have bad starters, but I think they have very average starters in that. And in a division where there is some high-powered offense pretty much throughout the division, even down to the bottom teams. I mean, Connor Bedard is still a real threat to score every night in Chicago. How far can your goaltenders take you? Can they be good enough where the group up front can help you win some games? But I think they'll be good. I think this will be the best we've seen an Arizona/Utah team in quite some time.
Arizona/. Fair. I guess that's really all we have there because, I don't know, everyone knows how we feel. Like, this is a team, like Brett said, long-term, terrifying. They are a team, they're the only team that is like a top 5 prospect pool that's already, like, pushing for playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a quick turn, and some of the pieces there we just love. You're not wrong on the goaltending. There's just so much on the forward, and
speaking a little bit of
our blue line
of Utah goaltending, I know he went through the player assistance program, but I was a little surprised to see that Connor Ingram cleared waivers.
Mm-hmm. It's so I can't remember if it was Merrick or Friedman, which it pisses me off that I have to decipher between the two because Sportsnet sucks. But one of them said it's because of the term. Like, you usually claim a goalie like that because they've got like 1 year left, and I think he has 2 or 3, and that scared some people off given some of his like off ice side commentary. Sure. Like, they kind of want to wait and see. More or
That's
less.
Fair.
Because there's other guys that have come up where it's like, holy shit, like a guy like DiPietro out in Washington, like, people are salivating and waiting for him to hit waivers because they have
Boston.
No choice. Or no, sorry, Boston. Sorry. And then you're right. Boston, DiPietro, which will probably maybe likely happen. But then there's also a Washington guy that was in the same conversation because it was DiPietro and one other guy. And you're right. Sorry, Z. Boston, Meth Bear. And then who? Why can't I think of who the Washington guy is? Doesn't matter.
No.
He's not DiPietro. Which is if you're a goalie and your last name's DiPietro, like, do you automatically get signed to like a 10-year deal?
Yeah, he should get residuals.
That you get bought out of and get $1.5 million for 30 years?
Hell yeah.
What a great life. Does Cal Peterson make it through? Depends on
through waivers. I think he does.
Yeah,
I think it depends on when it happens and if there's a team that like randomly has like their goalie go down or something. Like current state, he gets through, but I could see him being interesting just because of the experience. Like he's more interesting than some if you are in a panic because a guy just goes down and you don't know how long they're out. But probably
the one wild player who has to clear waivers that I would have a little bit of like a slight worry about would be Nicolas Aube-Kubel.
He's a guy. No, he had to clear waivers. Shit.
Yes, and like he's not a guy that a team is going to add because he's going to score a bunch of points at either level, the AHL or the NHL. But he's been kind of an underlying analytical darling in a bottom six role. So if there are teams all of a sudden with camp injuries where there's a spot open in their bottom six, I think he plays the right side, but I think he can play both right or left wing. I think he's killed penalties in the past. Like I think there could be some appeal there if a team is kind of needy in that sense. But we'll see. I think, and the Wild, there's some strategy around waiting later to kind of cut some of those guys, because if a team does, look to acquire that guy, they still have to have the cap space in the roster spot for him, which at this time starts to get a little bit tight for a lot of teams. But with the cap up, maybe there's a little bit more than previous.
Fair.
I think we find out tomorrow at like 1:00. I think
1, yeah,
Central Time. If you're elsewhere.
What is there? One more preseason game?
2,
yeah.
Tomorrow against Chicago, and then I believe Thursday against St. Louis. No, wait. Tomorrow against Winnipeg, Friday against Chicago. And then they open the season against St. Louis on the 9th.
This is a fun one to end it on. I'm going to point blank rank these 3 players.
Oh, boy.
We'll start with Brett, because I already know Z's going to be pissed that I'm even asking this, because I think I've asked him a couple of times now, but at very different points in these players' trajectories. Rank the 3 players. Danila Yurov, Liam Ogren. Brett, can you guess who the 3rd player is?
Nobody. You're spoiling the end of our prospect rankings here.
Jimmy Snuggerud.
Oh, okay.
Because that was like the question in the draft. Like,
yeah, for the Wild.
Rank those 3
right now,
not necessarily like we're doing our
trajectory.
5 years from now, who's the best out of that group? That's how we're going to base this.
Yurov, Snuggerud, Ogren, I think is where I'd go.
Okay.
But
Z?
if Snuggerud is 1, I would not be surprised. I don't think it's Ogren.
Yeah.
At least in terms of point production.
I think Ogren has the highest floor, but the lowest ceiling of the 3.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Like I'm pretty confident in saying that Liam Ogren is a middle 6 forward for a long time.
Yeah.
I think for both Yurov and Snuggerud, I'm like, there could be top line potential there.
Reasonable.
Yeah, that's where I was going. I could probably see, just given the fact that like Snuggerud has a pretty definitive path, like what he is in the NHL. Like he already just looks like a guy that like you throw in the top 6 at the wing, go-to guy in the power play. He's probably going to be able to give you 30, 35 goals year in, year out. And then Yurov, he could be a 2C, probably not like a point per game type player, but I think maybe Snuggerud has more upside in that sense. I might go Snuggerud, Yurov, Ogren. But again, like you said too, Ogren with the super high floor, has a lot of pro traits, can give you a little bit of everything from the wing. But as far as ceiling goes, I probably lean Snuggerud, Yurov, Ogren. But Yurov and Snuggerud are pretty close.
See, I feel like Snuggerud is the one that we know, like we have a pretty good idea who he is. I guess Ogren too, but it's like Ogren, such a sturdy floor. Yurov, I think, has the highest ceiling, but he has just like the most unknowns. Like, is he a center? Is he a wing? Like, how does he transition from the KHL, where we've already kind of seen glimpses of it from the other two? It's like Yurov has the biggest range of outcomes. The other two are more narrow, but yeah, I'm obviously super biased, and I'm just sad that we got two of the three and neither is Snuggerud. But awesome players. I love Yurov and Ogren, as will be uncovered at some point in our rankings. Tune in every Monday, 9 o'clock, as we go through those. 8:30 if you want to hear me and Z be idiots and just talk about random hockey stuff.
Yeah. If you want.
I know there's at least 10 of you out there that just absolutely need it.
I mean, it's most of the people in the chat probably, so.
Yeah. Shit. All right, we did it. We did the thing. I'm told, I don't know, I'll never trust people, but I'm told that there's going to be way more of us for the prospect segment in the upcoming weeks, but until it happens, I will just sit here and say, maybe.
Unless I am sick, I should be here every week, so.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, thanks, Brett. And we'll see you again next week. And hopefully we're back next week. We have to fucking throw up a good question mark.
Yeah, hopefully
you never know.
he doesn't get hit by another car.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah. And for those, if you're in the chat and you never checked out Wildly Informed, Ish and I will be live Wednesday night this week at 8:30. Not sure what we'll be talking about yet, but we'll figure it out. And I hope to see you there. It will be for sure. Wildly
I don't know, because I'm fairly hands off, but everyone should check out Wildly Informed, whether it's audio or video every week. But Brett, is that like a consistent time for you guys, or is it kind of shooting from the hip each week as far as like what time you'll be going live?
Yeah, it's 8:30 every Wednesday if there's not a Wild game on a Wednesday. If it is on a Wednesday, we usually go to Thursday versus Tuesday because it just gives us usually more time or more games in between.
You got one more game to talk about.
Yeah, well, a lot of times when you go like Wednesday to Tuesday, you might get like sometimes 1 or 2, maybe 3. But you like going to Wednesday to Thursday, sometimes you get 3. So, but yeah, that's our goal. There could be a couple breaks in between there. I know I'll be traveling for work in early December, so there could be a time right around there. And then our puppy needs to be spayed. I think late November, early December. So there could be some maybe around there too, depending on how that goes as well. But
Bob Barker just applauded you from the grave. Awesome. Well, you heard it. 8:30 most weeks. Check it out live on YouTube or the Sota Pod audio feed at your convenience.
Peace out.
Later.